And Sharon, there's no one for public comment, correct?
No.
Okay. Ready? I'd like to call the October 14th, 2014 meeting of the Board of Selectmen to order. I'd like to announce that this meeting is being recorded and ask if there's anyone in the audience who is also recording the meeting. Seeing none, could we rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So we have no one signed up for public comment. Under public hearing and presentations, I would like to entertain a motion to move up agenda item 6D.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So voted. Chief, if you'd like to come up and join us, and I believe the town manager has a statement she'd like to read.
Thank you, through the chair. Police Chief Andrew Slukas recently awarded Police Officer Brian Kennedy the Police Commendation Medal. This medal is awarded This medal is awarded to an individual for an outstanding act that brings honor and recognition to the individual officer and to the department alike. In addition, Officer Kennedy was nominated for and received the President's Award at the 35th Annual Massachusetts Coalition of Police Convention held in September. So I want to turn it to the Chief, but wanted to make sure that we also recognized Officer Kennedy for his great deed.
And Chief, if you could just welcome Officer Kennedy up with you so the viewing audience can see him on camera.
We thought it was important that everyone was aware that this summer we received a call to an address in Auburn for a report of a gentleman who was in cardiac arrest. Officer Kennedy, our school resource officer, responded to that address and was unable to find anyone because we were given the incorrect address. He didn't give up, though. He kept searching the different houses on the street. And he found a gentleman who was slumped over, who had been operating a lawnmower in cardiac arrest, who had crashed into some shrubbery. Brian removed the gentleman from the area and began to perform CPR. And thanks to his diligent efforts, I'm happy to say that the gentleman actually survived and is at home and recovering today. And he did an outstanding job. He really went above and beyond. You know, when the initial address came in, he didn't stop looking. He gave it a concerted effort and really went above and beyond. And I would ask everyone to, if you could just join me in a round of applause for Brian, because he really deserved it.
Well done, Brian.
Thank you very much.
Brian, if you wouldn't mind, if I can ask you to come back up. I think it's wonderful that your whole family is here to support you. So do you want to introduce your family?
Sure, I'd love to. My wife Rita, my daughter Alexa, my daughter Lauren, and my son Nolan.
I saw them beaming with pride, so we had to let everyone know they were here. So
Thank you.
congratulations.
Thank you
Congratulations. Well done.
Congratulations, Brian.
Good on time. The next item we have is Outback Steakhouse for a new officer, director, issuance of stock, excuse me, transfer of stock, and new stockholder to the all-alcoholic beverage license at 452 Southbridge Street. Is there a motion to open the hearing?
Motion to open the hearing.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So voted. The hearing is open. Good evening. If you could just give your name for the record and tell us why you're here.
Yes, my name is Greg DeMarcus, and I represent the licensee of the Outback. And as you know, they're changing locations shortly. The reason we're here is twofold. Number one was the parent company of the licensee, Blooming Brands, Inc., just went public. So all of the stock is now traded publicly. To the best of the knowledge of the licensee, there's no individual stockholder who has more than a 10% interest, and we've submitted an affidavit of interest in Exhibit A with regard to that. So that's in compliance with the Chapter 138 safe haven provisions. The licensee operates 21 restaurants in Massachusetts, 1,400 restaurants in 48 states and 20 countries under different concepts: Outback Steakhouse, Carrabba's Italian Grill, Fleming's Prime Steakhouse, Bonefish Grill, and Roy's. Because of the complexity of this transaction, and it involves so many units in Massachusetts, we use the inverted process. So all of this has been already approved by the ABCC as being in compliance with Chapter 138. They've already approved all of these applications. So unless you have any questions, again, this is just the parent company went public, and so there's a change of stock ownership at the very top of this chain. There's going to be no change, well, other than the change of location, but there's going to be no changes in the operation of the restaurant. The licensee is going to remain the same, the manager, everything's going to remain the same.
Okay. Are there any questions or comments from board members?
I
Mr.
just
Simonian?
have one, I guess. So this is to transfer stock, correct? The part I don't understand, and maybe I'll learn something here, I'm sure I will. If the parent company just went public, wouldn't that be the first issuance of the stock rather than a transfer?
I'm
So
sorry, what did you say?
You said the parent company just went public.
Right.
So wouldn't that be the first issuance of the stock? And like I said, I'll probably learn something here.
Well, no, the private stockholders who own the stock went public with it, so they've transferred their stock publicly, they've
Oh,
sold it to the...
all right, I missed that part, sorry. Thank you.
Okay.
Are there any other questions or comments? This is basically a formality. Is there any public comment? Okay. Is there a motion to close the hearing?
Motion to close the hearing.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The hearing is closed. Is there a motion regarding the application?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the changes, new officer director, issuance of stock, transfer of stock, and new stockholder.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thanks.
Thank you for
Thank
coming
you.
in. So voted. The next item we have is Ex-Golf New England Malt and wine license at 440 Washington Street. We are not going to open the hearing for this because abutters were not notified and it was not advertised properly. It will be on our next agenda. We also have agenda item regarding this, item 5B, and that would be the entertainment license and common victualers license. The applicant is going to hold those items until the next meeting. I just want to have you come up, give your name for the record, and just, confirm that you want to hold all three, hold the other two with the other item to the next meeting.
Yeah, my name is Tom Seibert, co-owner, and we'd like to move it to next week if we could. I apologize, that was on me. I had some confusion, first time doing this.
Okay, that's okay, but you have sent out a butter notification for the next meeting?
We will have them all set, yep.
Okay, so we'll continue, we actually will have a new advertised hearing for Ex-Golf New England at our next meeting, and we will continue items 5B, entertainment and common victualers license, Ex-Golf New England. Is there a motion to continue 5B
Motion to continue 5B.
to the next meeting?
To
Is
the-
there a second?
Second.
Mr. Holstrom?
Yeah, our next meeting is going to be the meeting prior to town meeting.
Oh, I'm sorry,
Okay,
our
just wanna
next
be
full
sure that
meeting, which is
We want to be,
the 27th, continue to the 27th.
That's fine.
So we'll see you on Monday, the 27th.
I
All
was
those
told
in-
that we were coming on the November 10th. Is that incorrect?
Has talked to Patsy, and that's the date that would work with advertising.
With advertising, continue to November 10th, please.
All right, so we'll continue this until November 10th. Motion
Okay.
to continue it to November
And the
10th.
second? Okay. We're clear, November 10th.
Great.
Okay, thanks so much.
Thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So voted. The next item we have is a street layout hearing for Santam Street Extension. Enclosed is a public hearing notice and notice to property owners. We also have a report from the planning board. Is there a motion to open the hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So voted. Mr. Coyle, are you taking this one? Thank you. You're welcome to come up to the table here to spread your paperwork out.
Brought these for the board members.
Thank you. Good evening,
Good evening.
Madam Chair, members of the board. This is a street layout hearing for Santam Road. This is a subdivision that was constructed off the end of the existing Santam Road, which extended the roadway approximately 500 feet. And the total length of the road, which is going before the town meeting members, I believe, you can bear with me for a minute. 1,480 feet? Thank you, 1,480 feet, thank you. So I have conducted a review of the subdivision and provided a letter to the Board of Selectmen. I've also given a copy to Sharon as well, just indicating that the subdivision has been completed in conformance with the plans. This particular project, as part of the subdivision requirements with the construction of the 500-foot section of the roadway, I believe the planning board also had a condition of the roadway, the private portion, being paved as well. That obligation has also been met, so the entire roadway has been paved, which that work was completed probably 3 or 4 weeks ago. And again, at this point, we have no outstanding comments that need to be addressed.
Do board members have any questions regarding the street layout?
I guess just one question. This is our last step before it goes to town meeting for approval, correct? Yes.
Yes.
No other questions, sir?
Okay. Is there any public comment? Any abutters? No? Is there a motion to close the hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So voted. Is there a motion regarding the street layout?
Recommend acceptance of Santam Street Extension.
Is there a second?
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So voted. Thank you, Mr. Coyle.
So it was to approve the layout.
The layout. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. So we, early on a package store.
Let's see.
We have a little time before the hearing, so,
Make a motion to move up 5A.
Second.
there's a motion to move up 5A, secondhand license GameStop. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So voted. Is there someone here from GameStop?
Maybe we should
Do we
wait.
want to hold that one?
Yep, let's hold it. Motion to move up 5.
We have Sheldon's here.
Sheldon's is here. That one is 5J. So motion to move up 5J.
Second.
So there's a motion to move up item 5J, a one-day entertainment license for Sheldon's Harley Davidson at 914 Southbridge Street on October 25th. All those, is there a motion to,
Mr. Carpenter seconded it.
okay, thanks. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So voted. Good evening. If you could give your name for the record?
Stephanie Bolivar.
Okay, and tell us what,
I was just looking for an entertainment license for one day on October 25th. We'll have a band there. and food and all that, but we already have a food permit, so.
Okay. And just for the record, the hours?
It's going to be 11 to 3.
Okay, so I'm hearing, I'm
Mr.
sorry.
Holstrom?
Thank you. I'm hearing 11-2, and I've got 9 AM to 4 PM, so I don't know if we can leave that open-ended on that end.
And it's probably setup time, I'm guessing.
Yeah. Well, the store opens at 9, but the band won't be there until about 11, 10:30, 11.
Okay.
Okay.
And then your ending time would be?
3, because we close at 4.
Okay. Sure.
So you've met previously with the DCG regarding these entertainment license, so are you familiar with the conditions that the DCG has previously recommended?
Yes.
Okay, so the applicant shall obtain any and all required Board of Health permits associated with the serving of food at the event. The applicant shall obtain food liquor liability insurance for alcohol served at the event. The applicant shall obtain a building permit for any temporary structures associated with the scheduled events, including but not limited to tents, and a sign permit will be required for any temporary signage promoting the event, including but not limited to banners.
Yep.
Okay. So I know that, I had said we could go ahead and put this on the agenda, but I did have some concerns that I did talk to the chief about, that I was hoping that he would have the opportunity to address at the DCG meeting. You and I had a conversation prior to the meeting, but at your last event, and clearly it was a very successful event. And you told me you were aware of it. There were cars parked all along Route 20. There is absolutely no parking on Route 20. So I would like you to discuss a plan to be sure that you have adequate parking or adequate signage to direct people into your parking lot. And we did have this discussion.
Yep.
I'll disclose prior to the meeting.
Yeah. Well, we'll definitely have employees park elsewhere, because that took up a huge chunk of the parking lot. We did have the Riders Academy going on in the back, so it was pretty impossible to put cars back there because people were learning how to ride bikes. We're going to use the parking lot across the street at Halligan Sports Bar for parking too, because they have plenty of parking over there. We'll tape the driveway, putting arrows to parking. We'll have a cop out there if we need to, directing traffic, telling people where to go. And we'll do whatever we can to, make it safe.
Okay. Chief, if you wouldn't mind joining us up at the table for a minute. So, we had this discussion with the parking on Route 20. I don't know that we necessarily need to request a detail, but, I certainly would appreciate it.
I wasn't of the opinion that we did until I heard people crossing Route 20. That kind of puts a different spin on things.
Okay.
If they're going to use the parking lot across the street, then that would
Yeah.
be something that I would ask that they do. Up until that point, I really didn't think it was necessary.
Yeah,
but
and we had talked about that.
It's kind of a game changer going over there.
Yeah. If you're having people park across the street and then walk
Right.
over, it certainly is a safety issue. So,
I would ask that would be one of the conditions that you just
Definitely.
yeah, if,
hired an officer with a cruiser.
okay,
We definitely can do that.
Great, thank you.
great. And I certainly do hope that you have as successful as an
Thank you.
event as you did last time. I mean, it was,
It's crazy.
yes, it was, and that's what we like to see, but there was certainly a safety concern at that point. So I'd like to see, as one of the conditions that you provide, and we don't have to have it now, but provide a written approval from the plaza across the street that you can use their parking lot that day for parking, because I don't know if they have a big event that day, but
Right.
it's a huge parking lot.
Yep.
And then if you're going to allow people to park across the street and cross Route 20, then I would ask for the board's support in having a detail officer.
Definitely.
Okay. Do any members have any questions or comments?
You're not serving alcohol.
No.
What kind of activities are you're having an event? What does that mean?
It's a Halloween bash. We're doing a costume contest at noon. And right now, we're going to have food. People are going to be grilling. Well, one guy's going to be grilling and a band.
So things outside versus in the store?
Yes.
People milling about in the parking area?
Yep, on the side of it.
Thank you.
Anything else from board members? Is there any abutter comment? Okay, is there a motion?
Motion to close the hearing? Or wait, this wasn't.
Yeah, it wasn't a
so-
hearing. So,
We have too many. Motion to approve the license, provided that all applicable requirements of the state and town and any of its departments, boards, and commissions have been fulfilled, with the added condition that you have a police detail, as discussed earlier. Said license is subject to all the conditions stated upon it. Failure to comply with any and all the conditions shall invalidate the license, render it null and void, and with the conditions of the DCG to be placed on the license.
and if I could just ask you to add the written permission from the property owner to use their parking lot?
And that would be the other condition, written permission from the owner across the street to use that parking lot.
And you can just submit that to the office.
Okay.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So voted. Thanks so much.
Thank
Have a
you.
good event.
Thanks.
Moving these around, I lost my place, so. Back to the regular agenda. We're still about 3 minutes early, so let me just see what we can, I want to see if we have anyone here.
Extra, maybe 5 minutes. We end up really short if we could move the item 6B up, but 3 minutes won't do it, it's fine. Caleb Moody was here.
Which number?
6B, I'm sorry, 6C. B and C are rather tied together. So we'll probably need a few more minutes.
Okay. Is there, because we have timed hearings and it's still a little early, is there a motion to move up town manager items 6B and C?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So voted. The first item is an update on the Department of Developmental and Inspectional Services, and we are also moving up a vote to appoint Caleb Moody as a special municipal employee. Ms. Jacobson.
Thank you for moving this item up. It's much appreciated, as Mr. Moody is here with us tonight. So I want to start with item B, and I'll be as quick as I can. There's been a lot of vacancies in the Office of the Department of Development and Inspectional Services, so I just want to briefly update the board on what the interim plan is and what the long-term plan is. As you know, we recently, the department head, Adam Burney, left to take a position in another community. A week after Adam left, our building commissioner also left to take another position in another community. And we can talk about this after, but without holding it up, they're both, we do exit interviews every time an employee leaves, and it became very clear that the employees were leaving for financial reasons. The positions were just not paying market rate compared to other communities, and unfortunately, we lost those 2 employees. So I want to move off of that just for a minute to get to the other issue. What we have done in the interim to keep the office together is a couple of things. Nick Antanavica will be helping us out on a part-time basis, providing 20 hours a week of inspectional services. I believe Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday evenings from 5 to 7, Fridays, and on-call as needed on Saturdays or emergencies. He has permission from the town of Northborough to do this, and it will actually be a good thing to be able to offer some inspectional services after hours when a lot of homeowners are home and are looking for the help. So that will work out well. Chris Lund, who has been the acting building commissioner since Nick left on July 5th, is leaving to take a position in West Boylston. When he does take that position, he will only be working 4 days a week, so he has offered to help us out on Fridays. He is not starting that position until next week, so in the interim, we still have some hours from Chris. And that brings me to one more piece, which I'll go back to in a minute, which is Caleb Moody, who we are here tonight under item 6C to request the board to appoint him as a special municipal employee, as Caleb is currently a skilled craftsman too at DPW in our facility maintenance division and does a phenomenal job. So I just want to go back to a couple of other things. So in the interim, we have appointed Darlene Coyle, who is the Director of Public Health, as the acting department head. So we have continuity in the office. She's been with us for a few years and clearly knows the operations of the office. So she is acting. In the interim, we have advertised for the town planner position with the potential to combine that as a department head position. If we get the right candidate that can do both, as Adam did, then we have found our candidate. If not, we would do something different with the department head and potentially have internal employees as well apply for it. That's still absolutely a possibility. So we wanted to leave open a lot of different possibilities. So we advertised for a town planner and said that we may, given qualifications, consider that person for a department head. And again, that is certainly open for internal application as well. We also have re-advertised for a part-time energy manager. We had received a grant from the state to have a 19-hour-a-week energy manager to help with all the green energy initiatives. We only received one application. We felt we should really go back out again and see if we can receive more. We're in the process now of potentially working with the state. We have a conference call tomorrow to talk about the possibility of combining our part-time energy manager potentially with some other towns in the area that also have a part-time energy manager, in which case maybe we can find someone who has the qualifications to take the position. We've also advertised for an 8-hour clerical for that office. That position there was a clerical person that was doing the ZBA and planning board minutes at night, and she left a couple of months ago, and we've been cobbling together coverage of those meetings, but we really want to make sure that we cover them well. So we do have a clerical covering them in the interim, but we've combined some hours from another employee clerical to make a total of 8 hours a week. So we can cover the meetings as well as hopefully give some much needed assistance in the building inspections division. It's a very, very busy office. So now I would go back to item 6C, which would be a request to appoint Caleb Moody as a special municipal employee. And I just want to give you a little bit, if Caleb wants to come up for a moment, that would be great. You can sit right up here, Caleb.
Come up here, please, to this table. Thank you.
Just by way of background, Caleb has been with DPW since July of 2011, and he has 15 years in the contracting business, the last 5 to 6 on his own. His family had a contracting company, and he's been on his own for 5 to 6 years as a contractor. He also is a skilled craftsman, too, in DPW, so all the great work that you see going on, the building of the salt shed, the senior center, I'm drawing a blank at the school, the
Sewer department office.
Thank you. The sewer department offices, planning board room, the library, as well as the press box. That's what I was drawing a blank on, the press box. Caleb and Jimmy from DPW have been doing it. So Caleb's very experienced on the building side of it. He also has been taking the classes, and he has received, I believe 2 years ago, received the qualification approval that you need from the BBRS to take the local inspector's exam. Once you are hired under state law, you have 1 year to get your local inspector's card. So you wait until you're hired, and then you go forward and take the test for that, which is what we did with Nick and what we did with Chris Lund as well. So we're fortunate that Caleb is in the same situation. He's been studying, he knows all the codes, he's qualified to take it. He has the same qualifications that both Nick and Chris had at the time that they were appointed. And then, again, under state law, he would have a year to receive that. So our thought was to have Caleb right now as a part-time local inspector, and to work under Nick's commissioner's license, and to work with Nick on a part-time basis. He'd still be working full-time for DPW, but he would need to be made a special town employee because he would technically have 2 positions. So he would be working his regular hours at DPW until 3:30, and then we told him we would be flexible to have him on board, so maybe 3:30 to 5:30, most days of the week, availability if needed on a Saturday or an emergency. So I think it's a great opportunity for us to take advantage of Caleb's skills, because he does an excellent job, and it's a good opportunity for Caleb to get the experience doing this that you need to have in order to go forward and get your license.
Okay. If you could just speak, you just mentioned it, but just speak a little more to to why he needs to be appointed a special municipal employee. So there's no confusion that he's already a municipal employee, but
Right.
the designation of a special employee, which is Mass General Law.
Yep, certainly. Under Mass General Law, if an employee is already a full-time employee receiving a salary, they cannot receive a salary for another position within the same community. You have to be a special, designated by the Board of Selectmen as a special town employee. We do have a couple of them in town. Primarily, they would be some of our division heads and department heads who also may plow for the town, which again would be considered a separate job on top of what they do on a regular basis.
Great. Do any members have any questions or comments? Mr. Holstrom?
Yep. I guess I'll preface my comments with a motion. I'd like to make a motion that the town manager conduct a salary survey to determine market rate for the bylaw employees.
Is there a second? Mrs. Brotherton, second. Mr. Holstrom?
Okay, reason being, it sounds like the Development and Inspection Services Department has had a kind of a revolving door lately, and those positions are not just run-of-the-mill positions. There's a lot of training, there's education and certifications that go along with it. We seem to bring these people in, and it seems as though, talking to the town manager, that money seems to be an issue. I'd like to take a survey of that and find out where we stand in regard to towns in the surrounding area. And again, we get some people in, professionals, get the ball rolling, and have some people that are willing to work and willing to stay here. So again, I'd like to see a salary survey conducted to determine the market rate for those bylaw employees only.
Is there any further discussion?
Can we hold it until we, dealing with the issue that we actually moved up?
Okay. Well, we do have a motion on the floor and a second.
I understand. We were here to discuss Mr. Moody, not to discuss salary survey.
I understand that, but
So,
we do have a motion.
personally, for me, I'm not prepared to vote on that tonight because I got this on Friday and there's nothing about a salary survey. So I would, appreciate it if board members have these issues, that they send an email for Sharon to share with us so that we can prepare and be aware of what's being done at our own meeting.
Well, Mr. Holstrom?
Yeah, the reason for my motion through the chair was to this kind of open the door for us because of the number of people that have been leaving that department. And instead of trying to get into another agenda item and put this a little bit further down the road, I want to get a study going just to take a look at it and see exactly where we are with it. That way that when the positions have been filed to have more people come in and to advertise, thank you. And instead of just going through the advertising and bringing people in, I'd like to conduct a salary survey so that we can see where we stand in regard to that, and that's why it kind of opened the door with this discussion tonight.
Mr. Simonian?
I'm not disagreeing with the concept, I'm disagreeing with the way that it was presented. I agree with Mr. Carpenter. This is pretty much a member item. It should have been addressed under member items. And we've never piggybacked stuff like this in on something else. We are in the process of discussing Mr. Moody. We did move up the agenda item to discuss Mr. Moody, and we're kind of backdooring the board with something that certainly should have been brought up, put on the agenda as a member item with an explanation to give us a opportunity to be able to address it in an educated fashion.
So just for the record, we did move up 2 agenda items. We moved up update on Department of Developmental and Inspectional Services, and I believe that's when the manager made her comments on so it's not just, to be clear, the appointment of Caleb Moody that we're discussing right now. It's both items. So, and the request was just for a salary study to.
Still no opportunity to be predisposed to have an idea that this was going to be on the agenda. And we've gone over this before. Either we're sticklers for the rules or we're not, and we've had that discussion too.
Well, certainly there's an update on the Department of Developmental and Inspectional Services, and the manager gave us information. Mr. Holstrom?
This was just an open discussion, just to bring forward some issues that the one department has, but there are other bylaw employees that we probably should take a look at all the way through. Because we were talking about the Development and Inspectional Services, it wasn't, it just opened the door for us to think about it. It wasn't anything that was pre-planned or anything, and I didn't want to make it a member item. I was just in discussion after what the town manager had made comments on, that we've had people go out, and she will tell you that the issue of their leaving is through money, so that is why I brought that motion up to have a salary study. It wouldn't hurt to do a salary study on bylaw employees, and it's nothing more than we can discuss right here and explain why I wanted to do it, and it's, the motion has been made.
Mr. Simonian?
Again, I'm not arguing the point of doing a salary study or not. Mr. Holstrom has been one of the people who's been a stickler for the rules as far as how things are introduced at selectmen meetings. He's been adamant that we not do exactly what he's doing now. So again, I didn't have an opportunity to know that this was going to be part of the agenda, and I'm not going to vote on it.
Mr. Holstrom, we have a meeting on next Tuesday, the 21st.
Yes.
Would you be willing to hold that item, and we'll make it very clear on the agenda? It's your motion, I'm not gonna...
No, I'm going to hold my motion. I'm going to keep it on the floor. It's not anything that needs to be discussed any further than just a request for a salary study.
Okay. Anything else on this? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Okay. So next is the vote to appoint Caleb Moody as a special municipal employee.
Can I ask a question of the manager? Is
Yes,
this
you
a
can.
permanent situation, or is this until we put people in those positions?
Right now, this is an interim situation, and I'll just make it clear, the interim situation is Nick Antanavicker as the building commissioner, Chris Lund, and if the board still votes, Caleb Moody as local inspectors. The positions have already been advertised. The building commissioner has been advertised, and the part-time local inspector has been advertised.
Mr. Simonian?
Yeah, I just ask one thing, and I know that this is a special set of circumstances in the 4.5 years I've been here. It's certainly the first time I've seen a request like this, but I just ask in the future if we could have some kind of background information on the person that we're asked to being asked to consider. That's all.
I'll make a motion that we designate Mr. Moody as a special town employee.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So voted. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Caleb.
So we are moving on to our hearings. The first hearing we have is at 7:30 PM for Auburn Package Store, 196 Auburn Street, an alleged liquor license violation. Is there a motion to open the hearing?
Motion to open the hearing.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So voted. The hearing is open. If any parties who will be giving testimony in this hearing could please rise and be sworn in. If you could just move over just a bit, please. Move over this way and raise your hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? You are duly sworn. I have one question for the license holder or his representative. You've been given notice regarding this hearing. The only question is, do you have any issue with the notice you were given?
No.
Okay. The first we'll hear from is the police department regarding the allegations.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is Detective Sergeant Scott Mills. He was the supervisor in charge who conducted the liquor law compliance checks that are before you this evening. I'll give you a brief synopsis as to what happened, and you can make a determination as to whether or not a violation occurred or did not occur. Detective Sergeant Mills.
at the direction of the Chief of Police and using grant funding that we obtained from the Executive Office of Public Safety and Security, the Highway Safety Division, members of the Detective Bureau conducted alcohol compliance checks on September 16th and 17th. Using guidelines that were put forth originally by the Alcoholic Beverages Control Commission, we checked a total of 26 establishments over the course of those 2 evenings, and the 5 that you're aware of did not correctly identify the underage operative and unfortunately sold him an alcoholic beverage.
Okay. So the hearing we have open right now is the Auburn Package Store. If you could give us the details specifically to that one.
Approximately 4:18 on the 16th, the underage operative was dropped off by me at the Auburn Package Store. At each location, he's told to buy the same thing at the package stores. It's a 6-pack of Bud Light. At the pouring establishments, it's a Bud Light bottle. So he went in there, went to the counter, went to the cooler, selected a 12-pack of Bud Light, went up, paid for it, and returned outside. He was carrying a black plastic bag on that particular occasion. I looked at it, put it in the back seat, and we went on.
Is that all you have right now?
Yep, he identified, he didn't obviously get the person's name, he just identified the person that sold him the alcohol as a thin Middle Eastern male with some scruffy facial hair, and he believed that the person was probably in his 30s.
Okay. Do you have anything else at this time? Okay. Next, I'll ask the licensee or their representative if they have any questions for the police officer.
No, we do not.
Next, I will hear testimony from the licensee or his representative.
Good evening again. My name is Gregory Demarcus. I'm an attorney.
Excuse me, could you spell your last name for the record?
Demakis. I'm an attorney from Lynn, and we're here again. We're here on this sting violation, and we don't contest the notice. We don't contest the description of the violation. We're embarrassed, and it's inexcusable and it's wrong, and we know that. And to my left is Krishna Patel. He's the manager of the Auburn Package Store.
And could you spell his name for the record, please?
Krishna, Patel, Patel.
Thank you.
And he's also the majority owner of the package store as well. And, I've discussed this with him. He understands this can't happen. And, first of all, we're here to apologize because, again, this is a very unpleasant thing to be in front of the board on a situation like this. Since this event occurred, his store has purchased an expensive piece of equipment, the ID scanner that's recommended by the ABCC. The store has also adopted a card everybody policy. It just has to happen. There can't be any discretion anymore. Every employee is tip certified, but they're going to all get re-tip certified. Even the employees who were not involved in this particular incident. It's just inexcusable, and we're thinking of everything we can, and we think that be the combination of this machine, which I'm sure you're familiar, the scanner and the card everybody policy. And I told him that if I went tomorrow to buy a 6-pack of beer, I would expect to be carded, and he said I would. And the re-tip certification, I think that those actions show that they are taking it seriously, and they need to take it seriously, and I think he is taking it seriously. He's very sorry, and he's This is not acceptable to him either.
Did you have anything else at this time?
Not unless you have any questions, I don't, we don't have any questions for the officer.
Yeah, we have a format that we'll follow, so next I'll ask the chief or sergeant if they have any questions for the license holder.
No, we don't.
Okay. So I will ask that board members, please, because this could potentially be an appellant issue. We do follow Robert's Rules of Order, so if you would like to ask a question, please wait until you're recognized. So do board members have questions or comments? Mr. Carpenter?
I just have a question. How many employees do you have, Mr. Patel, working for you currently?
3.
3? Okay. And Chief or Sergeant, when you do the stings after the fact, you go back to verify that they are TIPS certified and that their equipment is proper?
That certification doesn't have any bearing on anything.
Okay. You have a ID validator?
Yeah.
Mr. Simonian?
I understand your comments, and I appreciate the fact that you're here to apologize for what happened. I guess my question is, have you impressed upon the 3 employees that you said you have the seriousness and the impact that it has on your business and your license, what the potential of this happening again would be? Because you seem, through the comments of your representative, you seem to understand, and you're very apologetic, and I just want to understand that you've impressed that upon the 3 people you told Mr. Carpenter are employed by you as well, that they certainly understand that as well.
You understand the question? He's
Yeah.
asking.
Mr. Holstrom?
Through the chair, you're saying now that there is going to be a policy put in place for carding everyone. Was there not a card policy in place before this?
There was a card policy, but not a card everyone policy. If I understand it, correct me if I'm wrong. There was a card, anybody who looked under 30 policy, which clearly discretion is not the better part of valor in this instance. So discretion has to be taken away. So there was, if your question is, was there a card everyone policy? No, there was not.
Okay, thank you.
Are you the owner or the person who sold the alcohol to the minor?
Owner.
Okay, and it was an employee who sold? Okay, and what discussion or action did you take or have with the employee when you realized that that employee had sold to a minor?
I suspend him for weeks, and I tell my employee every day, like, card everybody, like, every day I leave the store, I tell everybody, even though, like, every day before I go to sleep, I call the store. I also work in Dudley too, and I call that store too and say, make sure you card everybody, because I know the, violation is bad. And like I said, he said like he just forgot. He was doing something. I was there when, I got phone call, I was waiting on customers, and I got phone call, so I moved on the side and I called him to take care of customers, and he was the 3rd customer he waited on.
Okay. Are there any other questions or comments? So, is there a motion to close the hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So voted. So now we'll hear from the chief as to whether there have been, no, first we'll take a vote to see if, after the facts were presented, if we find that there was a violation of the license. We have to determine whether there was a violation of the license, and then we'll move on to the penalty.
Is it in the form of a motion?
We have to make a motion that they were found in violation by serving to an underage person.
That's fine. I move that we find there was a violation of the license as admitted to by the owner.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So voted. So now we'll hear from the chief whether there have been any previous violations and if the chief has a recommendation on a penalty.
This would actually be their second violation in 2 years. As a result of that, in keeping with the guidelines that the board has previously established. If memory serves me correct, I believe the penalty would call for a 2-day suspension on either a Friday and a Saturday, or 2 Fridays or 2 Saturdays, whatever the board's pleasure was.
And that would be your recommendation?
It would be, yes.
Mr. Simonian?
I realize that we've kind of followed a precedent. And again, I appreciate your comments, but I'm bothered by the fact that this is a second violation. I've never subscribed to the philosophy of it takes a village, but I do believe in the community and being good neighbors. And I'm sure there's other parents out here besides me who know that no matter how hard you try, no matter what you do, teenagers make stupid decisions sometimes. I'd never abdicate my responsibility as a parent. I wouldn't expect anyone to raise my child except for me, but I would expect that anyone who comes into your establishment would be carded. Now, I know you said you're going to do that. It hits a little closer to home for me because right now, there's a large amount of kids in this town that I've known for several years. They're all high school age. They're at that age, 15, 16, 14, who I'm sure their parents, much like me, have lectured my children time and time again. And all I would ask from you is that you be that last line of defense. You came in here, you asked us for a license to operate that establishment. And part of that was that you said you would uphold the conditions of that license. And one of those conditions was to not sell alcohol to minors. So I know we've typically done 2. I'm going to ask the board to consider 3 because it is a second violation. That's my feeling.
Was that in the form of a motion?
Do you want me to put it in motion? I make a motion to ask for a 3-day suspension, and as the chief recommended, at least one of those, 2 of those days be a Friday and/or a Saturday.
Is there a second for discussion?
I'll make a second for discussion purposes.
We're under discussion. Is there anyone who wants to comment? Mr. Carpenter?
For myself, I know the policy says 2, not necessarily consecutively. And having watched the board hearings in the past, I don't think the board has ever said shut down on a Friday and a Saturday consecutively. So perhaps this is that day that I don't know that I want to support a 3-day, not that I don't think that it's important to drive the point home, but I think if we do it consecutively as opposed to, I think the board has bent over backwards trying to be somewhat considerate of business operations. So for me, I would rather see us do a 2-day and have them served consecutively on a Friday and a Saturday, and perhaps that will, send the message to those people with licenses that it's going to cost you a great deal of money to not follow the policy that you receive, and you have to make sure your employees are doing, when you're not there, you have to make sure your employees are responsible.
So, under discussion, I will also agree with Mr. Carpenter. The board reviewed these policies and affirmed them on February 27th, 2012. And the way the policy reads, it says if a licensee has been found in violation of General Law, Chapter 138, 2 times, but not more than 2 times in the 2 years preceding the date of the violation, then the licensee shall have its license suspended for 2 24-hour periods to be served on a Friday and/or Saturday, but not necessarily consecutively. I would support the 2-day suspension consecutively. I have actually attended a hearing at the ABCC when we had a license holder appeal it, and it was frustrating, but they look at everything, and I feel that the language that we've adopted says that we shall suspend for 2 days. I have no problem, after these hearings are complete, revisiting this issue to have a more open-ended policy, but I feel that we've adopted this policy. It says 2, and I would support 2 days consecutive on a Friday and Saturday. Is there, Mr. Simonian?
I just have a question. So you're saying you would support the 2 days consecutive?
I'm saying I will not support 3, but I would support 2 consecutive days. I certainly I believe that sends a strong message
That's fine
to
with
a
me.
license holder when you shut them down on a Friday and Saturday for the weekend. You've certainly sent a strong message of intolerance, yet.
I don't disagree. I'll withdraw my motion, and if someone wants to make a motion for 2 consecutive, I'm fine with that.
I'll make a motion that we suspend the license for the Auburn Package Store for 2 days consecutively on a Friday and Saturday.
We have to be specific with the
Have to be
date. Do we have a
specific.
calendar, please?
Excuse me, if we're gonna be suspended for 2 days on a Friday and Saturday, can we have any input into that? I mean, Friday, Halloween, would like not to be closed down for that, perhaps the following Friday and Saturday.
Friday and Saturday would be November 7th and 8th.
How does the board feel? I mean, if the board wants to go with November 7th and 8th?
Personally, I mean, why is Halloween night, first of all, we have a lot of kids walking around, it's getting dark earlier. The last thing I want is for somebody who's, had a few, even though they may have bought it to consume off premises. We know that that doesn't always happen, but why is Halloween night such an important night for alcohol sales?
Well, I assume it's a busy night in a holiday weekend. Now I live closer to Salem, and I know what Salem is like. I don't know it's a busy night. And, the ABCC has issued several administrative decisions with regard to stings. And they say unanimously in all the decisions, the purpose of a sting is for educational purposes and not punitive purposes. And I understand. We're not here today contesting anything. We're saying, okay, can it get suspended? Friday and Saturday is a harsh suspension, but we're saying, please consider doing it on a day that's not Halloween. I mean,
Do you
Mr.
have
Smo-
anything to back, go ahead.
No,
speak.
did you, if it was a follow-up to your question,
Um,
then Mr. Simonian?
Do you have anything to demonstrate that Halloween is a busy night? I mean, Salem is obviously a unique circumstance in that it has the witch trials and all the other bizarre and macabre things that they like to promote. We're talking about Auburn, Massachusetts. We don't have witch trials.
I don't, but intuitively, I know there's probably some adult Halloween parties on that night. Again, from your point of view, whether it's the 7th and the 8th, the 14th, the 15th, or the 24th and 25th, what difference does it really make? I mean, now I'm saying it's possible, I don't know, but it's possible. I would guess it would be a more high-volume night, and we're just saying that, look, we're going to accept our suspension of 2 days on a Friday and Saturday consecutively. Can it not be on that Friday?
Mr. Simonian?
So, I don't disagree with you, what you just said about the ABCC. But you said it's for educational purposes and not punitive. It's back here a second time. And the first time we followed protocol, and I remember vaguely, first time, I believe we gave a 1-day suspension, which was not on a weekend, if I recall.
That's correct.
based on the recommendations of the chief. So that one-day suspension on a non-weekend day doesn't appear to have taught the lesson or provided the educational opportunity. That said, with everything I feel about this, it's just, it's hard for Mr. Carpenter's point about little kids walking around. I don't know. I'll abide by whatever the board wants to do, whatever we can. Mr. Carpenter's making the motion. I'm gonna leave it up to him.
Without any facts to support that Halloween is a busy night, I find it hard to withhold that day, not that I personally care if it's the 1st or the 2nd. So I will make it the 1st and the 2nd of November. Actually, no,
That's a
we can't
Sunday.
do that.
It would be the following.
Yeah, so
The
we'll do it the
7th.
7th and the 8th.
So Mr. Carpenter's motion is to suspend for 2 consecutive days on November 7th and
And 8th.
November 8th. We have a second. We're still under discussion. Mr. Carpenter,
I
did you
mean,
have
just,
something else?
just in future, if you appear before us, if you're going to ask for consideration, I do expect you to have backup. I'm not going to give you another shot, okay? You need to have the information. When I sat on the planning board, people came in, they had to have the information in order for us to make a decision. So if you're going to ask for certain days to be exempted, you're going to need to have the information, at least for this member, to give you consideration. And hopefully there isn't a third time, obviously.
Chief, I'll just check if you have any issues with the recommended motion.
I do not.
Okay. And when will this new machine be in place before I vote on this?
It's in place.
It's in place. And you're carding everyone?
Yep.
Okay. Is there further discussion? So the motion is to suspend the license for 2 days on November 7th and November 8th. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So you'll receive the proper notification, but be reminded that you do have to post that you are closed due to suspension, not that you're closed for renovations or vacation. It has to be posted. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
The next hearing we have is for Major League Roast Beef and Wings, 503 Washington Street, for an alleged liquor license violation. Is there a motion to open the hearing?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
The hearing is open. Anyone giving testimony, could you please raise your right hand? If you could move out so I could see you, please. Anyone who's going to give testimony, move out so I can see you. Raise your right hand. So you're the only one speaking?
Yes.
Okay. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Sergeant Mills, can you just move that microphone either up or over? It was a little soft last time, but thank you.
So you received notification of the alleged violation. Do you have any issue just specifically with the notification?
No, I don't.
Okay. We'll now hear from the police regarding the violation.
Thank you. At approximately 6:02 hours on the 16th, I went to Major League Roast Beef with the underage operative. I parked in the parking lot. I watched him walk into the store. Approximately a minute or so later, I entered the store right behind him, waited behind him in line. He went to the counter. He asked for a Bud Light bottle. He was asked for identification. He provided identification. The female clerk, or the person waiting on him, who took his identification, consulted with some sort of chart or list next to the register, handed him back his identification, and he turned around and started towards the table, and she went and got a beer, and she yelled out to him, "Sir, you forgot your beer," and called him back, handed him, actually a Budweiser, not a Bud Light. He brought it to the table, and, you know, I ordered my food, and then I sat down with him.
Okay.
And that's it.
Okay. Do you have any questions regarding the police officer's testimony?
Yes, I do. I wasn't informed that she carded him. What I was told by the girl that gave him the beer that he was not caught. She did not card him, so I wasn't aware. So she did card him?
Yes, sir, she did.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so now is your opportunity.
I have no, I'm sorry, I have no excuses that should
Could you
not.
give your name for the record, please, and spell it?
Nicholas, last name Giannakis, Gianakis.
Okay.
Again, I have no excuses. It should not have been done. She was a trainee. We always have a manager at the front counter, whether it being my wife, which is present here, my daughter, or my manager is always present out front. She was a trainee, and the manager, Nina, was in the back room or in the facilities, and it just happened to happen at the wrong time, believe it or not, but there's always a manager there, and we always card, whether it's an 18-year-old, a 30-year-old, or a 50-year-old. We make people go out to their car to get their license and bring it back. We're not a drinking establishment there. We don't sell a lot of beer. That's not what we're there to do. Again, there's no excuse for it. It hasn't happened. I believe we've had our license in 4 years. This is the first time that I even heard of someone not carding at that counter and serving somebody like that. It just doesn't happen in that place. It hasn't happened in 4 years, and I do not believe it will happen again. We are looking into the same machine that gentleman was talking about earlier. I have an appointment with the gentleman on Monday, I believe. He's coming in to show me. It's a very expensive machine. I don't think it's necessary because the girls are all tip certified there. And like I said, there's a manager, whether it's my daughter, my wife, or Nina, the manager, is always at that counter 7 days a week. It just happened that Nina was in the back room at the time this thing happened. That's about all I have to say.
Okay. Do the police officers have any questions for the license holder?
No, we do not.
Okay. I have a question for Detective Sergeant. The ID that was presented, because they do have to show ID if they're asked for it, and I believe that licenses are horizontal and vertical, right? If you're under 21, you have a vertical license. Is this the case that he had the vertical license and it was handed?
The only, excuse me, when they leave, the underage operative, when they leave or when we take them out, they have their license, their actual license with their correct name, correct date of birth, and whatever money we provide them. And, now cell phone, we also allow a cell phone. But that's it. There's nothing else. We give them a breath test prior to and after the operation, and I pat frisk him to make sure he doesn't have anything on him, like a fake ID or anything.
Okay. So the vertical license is a clear indication that it's an under 21 license?
Yes.
Okay.
This particular operative, like I said, he was 19 years old. I believe he turns 20 in November. I don't know what list she consulted. I didn't get a chance to look at it, obviously.
So for the license holder, are you aware of the list or whatever the Detective Sergeant referenced?
As
to
the
in
vertical license?
No, the list that she may have looked at the register?
What list is that? Yeah, I guess there's a list there of the date. Yes. There's a list of the date on the register.
Okay. So, did you discuss with the person who sold the alcohol, the circumstances?
Yes.
And was there an explanation as to whether it was a vertical license or the date? Ma'am, excuse me, ma'am. Because you're not sworn, you can't testify, okay? If you have something to add, I'm happy to swear you in so that you can testify, but we can't. we can't have you testifying. Thank you.
As what she told me is she did not even ask the kid for an ID. This is the first I hear that she asked the kid for an ID, so that just, I didn't get the correct story from her, I guess. 'Cause the officer's saying that she carded him. What she told me was she didn't card him. That was what my understanding was. So that's where I was very upset about. I mean, an ID, you could look at an ID and you could make a mistake, okay? In this case, she was reprimanded. I had her take a week off. She had told me she didn't even ask for an ID. So I'm confused.
Okay.
I'd have to go back and talk to her to find out the real story now. Because I'm not getting, I haven't gotten the real story, obviously.
Okay. Other members are going to ask you questions now. Mr. Simonian?
I understand. So from what you testified, it sounds like this is an issue of poor training, someone not knowing. If she ID'd him and still sold him beer, that's a big issue. That's a problem. You said you always have a manager. I have no reason to not believe you because I've never met you before, but this should illustrate to you that all the policies in the world are about worth the paper they're written on if it's not something that is constantly practiced. The one time, according to you, that the manager was in back, it brought you here. It potentially caused a situation. It definitely affects your license, affects your business. And had it not been the gentleman who was there as part of the sting operation, it could have been a 16-year-old kid who might have said, hey, I got one, let me see if I can get 2 or 3, went out and operated his vehicle. You see, that one time is all it takes. And I'm not going to sit here and preach to you because we're all flawed, we all make mistakes, but you are the license holder, you are the business owner, you have to be responsible for it. You have to make sure that that one time doesn't happen. And whether it's training, whether it's constantly just saying it over and over again ad nauseum to your employees, whatever it takes. I mean, the gentleman before, as you said, the machine is expensive. I don't doubt that. But if it were me and my name was on that business and on that license, whatever it takes.
I don't disagree at all.
Mr. Carpenter?
How old was the employee who sold the alcohol?
30.
Do you, in the past, or do you take out-of-state licenses as proof of age for alcohol sale?
I'm not sure.
Because Massachusetts has a vertical, and actually, most of the New England states have a vertical.
I wasn't aware of that till tonight.
So, and most of them also have under 21 until, and it's in bold. So, I mean, if he showed her a vertical, it should have pretty clear that he was underage.
Again, she told me she didn't even ask him for an ID. So again,
Okay.
I have to go back and figure this issue out again.
How many other employees sell alcohol or are able to sell alcohol in?
Total, there's about, I would say 6. And they're all tip certified.
They're all over 21?
Yes.
Thank you.
Are you finished, Mr. Carpenter?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Mr. Simonian?
Yeah, I just have one last comment based on what you just said. So, you said you didn't know that the vertical stripe was an underage license.
I did not.
Okay. Again, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but I do want to drive this point home. It's your license. You have a responsibility to know, and you're holding your employees to, I guess, a level of accountability that you're, in a sense, not displaying. If you don't know, but you expect them to know, so it's possible you could have sold the alcohol to a minor because you didn't know. So, I'm just trying to drive this point home.
I got you.
You have to know, the education, the representative for the last person said that this is supposed to be an educational, not a punitive. I'm all for education, so let's make sure that that happens.
Do you have something? No. So I just, again, and I don't want to beat a dead horse, but it's really troubling me that it was twofold. It was, and, you know, according to the guidelines for one of these operations, if they're asked for a license, for identification, they have to provide it. So that was the first time where the employee was handed a vertical license, which is part of your tip certification to let you know that they're under 21. So there was the first opportunity to say, whoa, not serving beer. The second opportunity was looking at the chart that has the dates so that it's clear, according to your testimony, there's a chart, so you don't have to stop and do the math. You know that they're under 21. According to your testimony, that was the second opportunity to say, whoa, under 21. I'm really troubled by the fact that, as Mr. Simonian said, you weren't aware of the vertical license. So I would hope after tonight that you do get one of these machines in place and that you also make it a practice of carding everyone. I understand that you're not in the beer license.
Right.
You're in the food business, and you do an excellent job at it.
Thank you.
But we don't want your business to have a bad reputation.
Nor do we.
Because people, and I think I can speak for the board, the community does not want us to let people who sell to minors off the hook. And you have an excellent business, and I just really want you to be vigilant and not have this attached to your name.
We'll straighten the situation out.
Is there anything else from the board?
No.
Do you have anything else to add? Is there a motion to close the hearing?
Motion to close the hearing.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The hearing is closed. So now we need to determine whether a violation of the hearing of the license occurred, and that, in fact, they did violate their license by selling to a minor.
I make a motion that a violation did incur, as testified to by the owner. He acknowledged that it happened, so violation did certainly occur.
And what was the date?
That was on September 16th.
So a violation occurred on September 16th.
September 16th.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So voted. Chief, do you have a recommendation on the penalty for Major League Roast Beef having been found in violation of their license?
I would recommend a one-day suspension on a weekday, whichever day the license holder feels would least impact their business, seeing that this is their first violation. They've never been before you before.
And per our policy, if a license has been found a licensee has been found in violation of General Law, Chapter 138, one time, but not more than 2 times, in the 2 years preceding the date of the violation, the licensee shall have its license suspended for a period of 24 hours to be served on a Monday through Thursday. Mr. Simonian?
I agree with the chief. I have no problem supporting the one-day suspension. Let me just say one last time, you have an opportunity to train all of your employees on how to use that chart. You have an opportunity to train them to enforce that policy. The manager never leaves the front for any reason. It's your name, it's your business, it's your license. So please, I believe you, I believe it was an accident. Let's not see you back here.
You won't.
Is there a motion? And when you make the motion, it does have to have a specific date attached to it?
Do you want to ask? his recommendation was up at the discretion.
What day would at least...
Guys, we sell 2 cases of beer a week, okay? I don't really care.
Monday?
That's fine.
Do we have a calendar? We might as well make them all in the same week, that first week of November.
You're looking the first week of November, and the first Monday is the 3rd.
Third would be the Monday in November?
November 3rd,
Third,
just to
I
keep
guess.
the suspensions in the same week.
Well, second for discussion purposes.
So that was that your?
I didn't
Is there
actually
a
make the
motion?
motion with the date, but I'll be happy to.
Is there a motion?
Motion to, for a 1-day suspension of the Major League Roast Beef liquor license, or beer and wine license on Monday, November 3rd, for a period of 1 day, 24 hours.
Is there a second?
I will second for discussion purposes.
We're under discussion. Did you have something, Mr. Carpenter?
Yeah, I'm going to disagree with the chief on this point. If this is about education, then it has to have impact. So we can't be saying, well, it's the first time, because we had somebody here the second time in almost a year to date. So for me,
who are you
I
referring
look at, it should be on a Thursday, Friday. Those are peak days for people to go out and enjoy themselves. So I think if we want to curtail people from coming back and seeing us, I think we need to set a clear policy, which is it's going to hurt if you do it once, not it's going to really hurt if you do it twice. That's my opinion.
Excuse me. Guys, it doesn't matter what day. We know what we did wrong. We will straighten the situation out. Again, we don't sell a lot of beer in there. We're a food establishment. Most of it's takeout. We know we made a big mistake. You can put it on a Friday. Don't sit there and argue about the days. You can put it on any day you want. It will not happen in that establishment again.
I'll just say I'll support Mr. Simonian's motion to suspend on that Monday. It is a 1-day suspension, and I believe that they've taken our comments to heart. I would hope that you'll notify the board when you have the machine in place, so I'll support the motion. Is there any other comment or questions? Are we ready to vote? The motion is to suspend on Monday, November 3rd. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter opposed. You're all set. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too. Oh, we're plenty of time on the hearing. Okay. So the next hearing we have is for Pub 99, 99 Boston Incorporated, 793 Southbridge Street, for an alleged liquor license violation. Is there a motion to open the hearing?
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So voted. Anyone who's giving testimony, please rise to the floor. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? And you've received notice regarding this, tonight's hearing?
We have.
Do you have any issues with the notice that you received?
We don't.
Okay. Chief?
On September 16th, at approximately 4:46 in the afternoon, I dropped the underage operative off at the 99 restaurant. Detective Ross was already positioned inside the restaurant. Detective Ross watched the underage operative select a seat at the bar, ordered a Bud Light draft, and he paid for the beer, and, well, he was served the beer. He paid for it. He waited a short time, and then, per the protocol, as he was told, he left the establishment, came out to the car and informed me what had happened. He described the bartender as a white, female, short, petite, blonde, and he didn't have an age that he could give me, approximately. That is it.
Do you have any questions specific to the police officer's testimony?
We do not.
Okay. We'll now hear from you regarding the alleged incident.
Okay.
And if you could give your name for the record?
Sure.
Both of you, and spell your names.
Absolutely. Good evening. My name is Brian Casey, C-A-S-E-Y, and I'm an operations director with the 99. I oversee the Auburn location as one of my locations, and this is Donna Medeiros, our general manager of the property.
And if you could spell your name for the record, please?
It's Medeiros.
And what's the first name again?
Donna.
Donna. Okay.
First of all, I'd just like to apologize to, the town of Auburn, the Board of Selectmen, the police department, and most importantly, the community. We feel, very prideful about our diligence with responsible service of alcohol. It's right up there with food safety and the safety of our guests and team members, and this is something that we discuss, we talk about, we hold accountable every single day, and this is, truly embarrassing for us. We find we like to consider ourselves a pillar in the town of Auburn with the community involvement that we have, and we do not take anything like this lightly at all. We did an internal investigation of our own after this was brought to our attention, and as soon as we found out, verified who the team member was, we made a quick decision to terminate her employment, and that follows our zero tolerance policy as a company. As far as what happened that evening, it was a complete isolated incident with a terrible lack of judgment by one team member, and we don't want it to be represented for our company, our restaurant in Auburn. We've got 48 very hardworking team members there that this will affect, unfortunately, not only whatever the circumstances are of the punishment, but also, our brand and our reputation in the town of Auburn. And, we support the Little League, we support the Pop Warner, we support the Boy Scouts, and many, many, many other local affiliated youth organizations. So we realized this was a terrible mistake, and we just wanted to apologize and let you know that we have systems in place. They obviously failed in that moment of time, but we're very diligent with not only discussing it every day. We have a tip certified program that we certify every single team member that serves alcohol to our guests. They're certified every 2 years. Our managers are certified. There's a very strict carding policy that we have, and there's verifications that are done. We only allow a certain identifications that we can, that a team member can approve. And then there's also always a manager on duty, a salaried manager that would have to approve anything that was in question. So once again, this was something that it was a terrible lapse of judgment on one team member, and wish we could go back in time and take that back. I'm sure she was discussed that day before the shift started what the born-on date was, because that's what we talk about every day with our team, and she did not. So.
Do the police officers have any questions for the license holder?
No, we do not.
Okay, so we'll move on to board questions, and I have a question for Detective Sergeant Mills. Did she ask for identification at all?
No, she did not.
She did not at all, okay. And can you tell me about your policy regarding asking for identification? Do you have, some businesses say if they look under 30, if they look under 40, could you tell me your policy?
Sure. We have a policy that if you're under the age of 30, appear under the age of 30, that we card.
Okay. Questions? Mr. Simonian?
I guess just a similar comment. I appreciate your comments. Seem genuine. My only comment would be, if any good comes out of something like this, it's the opportunity where it exposes the flaw. So hopefully it's opened your eyes to something that, even if, as you say, it's the one time, it can give you an opportunity to rectify it, make it better, and hopefully it doesn't happen again.
I have a couple questions regarding your zero tolerance policy. So you mentioned a zero tolerance policy. Of course, you hate to see anyone terminated, but is this discussed prior to any employee serving alcohol, that you have it, is a zero tolerance policy discussed?
Yes, they actually have, they have to sign for it after they take their responsible service of alcohol test, that they understand and abide by that with it's actually in our handbook that they need to sign, so it's full disclosure. There's never a surprise, and that would include if someone was ever served over, the responsible limit as well as not carding.
Okay, and can you tell me a little bit about the meeting you hold at the start of the day or the start of the shift or whatever regarding the born-on date?
Sure. Donna, this is the general manager.
If you could move out of the microphone, please.
Each shift, AM and PM, we do what we call a pre-meal, where we gather our staff and go over various things. And one of the things we do have is posted every day. We update the born-on date, what day you have to be born on, in order for your license to be valid. We also go just around asking questions. What do you look for when you look at a license, and to verify it. And we also talk about making sure we caught everyone. I personally, it's 30 or younger, but personally in my location, I say 35, and I always have. I've been in the company 20 years, and even when I was a server, it was always 35 and younger. So we talk about that, and like he said too, they're not allowed to take any IDs except Massachusetts state licenses. Other than that, they have to bring their ID to us, and we use our ID book in order to verify it.
And what about regular customers who may come in who may have been carded previously, and, you kind of know who they are, and what's your policy regarding that?
We still focus on carding on that. We also focus, if you were to come from the bar, if we were running a wait and you came into our dining room with an alcoholic beverage, you'd be carded at the table again, even though you have a drink in front of you.
Okay. Is there anything else from members?
I just have one. How many servers do you have that are 18?
I think we have
Shall I say
30.
under 21?
No, 18. I have 31 servers. I don't think I have anyone that's 18. I can't tell you 100%, but they're all mostly in college. I don't have any, my door servers who don't serve alcohol are 18 and 19, but I have a lot of older staff in my location.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
The hosts, even though they're not serving alcohol, they still go through the tip certification to recognize anything that might.
Are there any other questions, comments?
One.
Yes, Chief.
Could you just tell me what you think the monetary effect and/or penalty is to this one particular restaurant if you lose your liquor license for one day during the week?
If it was a Monday or a Tuesday, we're probably talking about less than $1,000, probably $800 or $900.
What about Wednesday, Thursday?
Probably 10% more, probably each day as you get towards the weekend.
Okay, thank you.
If there's nothing else, is there a motion to close the hearing?
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So voted. Could you give me the date again?
Excuse me, September 16th?
I'll make a motion that we find that a violation did occur on September 16th.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, it's been determined that you had a violation of your license. Chief, do you have a recommendation?
Once again, I think I would recommend a one-day suspension during the week, one that would have the least financial impact on the business.
Members have any? Is there a motion?
Given the fact that they have not appeared here before you before.
I would make a motion that they suspend the license for one day, Monday, November 3rd.
Is there a second?
Second for discussion.
We're under discussion. Mr. Simonian?
I'm just going to comment. I understand completely Mr. Carpenter's statement during the last hearing. And this is exactly why I've never been a fan of setting precedents, because I again think from business to business, violation to violation, we've kind of painted ourselves in a corner. We've sort of set the precedent that the first violation is one day, the least effect. And I'm not necessarily saying that should change for this particular person or anyone else, But I will say, this is why I've always been against setting precedents, because we sort of have to follow that, or, it could come back on us, so.
I'll just say I'll support the motion because of the quick action that the 99 took, the policies that they have in place. I mean, we're all human, we all make mistakes, and it's just a matter of how you handle that and how you correct it. And I feel that the corrective action you took was immediate and forceful, so I'll support the motion for the one-day suspension on Monday. Mr. Simonian?
Actually, do have one more question. So, why 30 or 35? What made you settle on that number? And maybe it wasn't up to you, maybe it was corporate decision, I don't know, but I'm just curious as to why.
It is definitely, I couldn't tell you who exactly made that policy. It's a corporate policy.
That's fine. I'd just tell you, I'm 51. If I go in there and order a beer and you ask for my ID, I'm not going to be offended. So, I don't think most people would be. And honestly, if you raise that, there's less of a chance that, it happens again. So.
Most people take it as a compliment when they get.
It doesn't bother me in the least. I don't care. So.
And I'll just say, we've said it at so many of these hearings, we do have businesses in town that card everyone. And if you ask for an ID from everyone, then you'll never not ask and not know that they're underage. So it's a good policy to put into place, especially where you've had, one violation at this point. We certainly don't want to see you back here. And we're not saying next year, we don't know when the police department will conduct another compliance check. So, is there anything else? So we have a motion to suspend the license for one day on Monday, November 3rd. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'm opposed.
Dan is opposed. Thank you.
Just a quick question on the suspension that day. Will you give us any direction? Will we need to remove liquor from the bar area, or we'll be able to stay open for food and non-alcoholic beverages?
Right, and it'll be posted.
Okay.
It'll be posted,
Great.
but you can just not sell off, and we'll give you further direction.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Apologize again.
The next hearing we have is a 7:45 alleged liquor license violation hearing for TNZ at 310 Washington Street. Is there a motion to open the hearing?
So moved.
Is there a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The hearing is open. Anyone giving testimony, please rise. Raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? If you could, I'm just going to have you give your name and spell your name for the record.
Ziad Al-Namr, E-L-N-E-M-R.
Okay. And you're aware you've received notification regarding this hearing tonight?
Yes.
Do you have any issues with the notification that you received?
No.
Okay. Detective Sergeant?
Thank you, Chip. On September 16th, rather, at approximately 4:05 hours, the operative was dropped off at the Route 20 Shell station, and he went inside, selected a six-pack of Bud Light cans, brought it to the counter, paid for it, was never asked for any identification. He walked out of the business directly to my cruiser, carrying the six-pack in his hand. He described the person who sold it to him as being a light-skinned Middle Eastern male wearing a white collared shirt that had a Shell symbol on it. While he remained in the vehicle, just so I could confirm who it was, because I am familiar with some of the people that work there, I went inside to purchase a cup of coffee and observed Mr. El Nimr Ziad behind the counter, so I confirmed it was him. I purchased the coffee and then left. Like I said, he was never asked for any identification, and he was in the store less than 3 minutes, rather. He was back in my cruiser by 4:08.
Okay.
That's all.
Thank you. Do you have any questions for the police officer regarding the statement they just made?
No.
Okay. Now's your opportunity to...
I apologize because what happened, I know my mistake. We close in a shift at 4 o'clock. So I jump between my employees to try help him to close the shift, to open pump, to people start pumping gas. And I took the draw from a cashier. I never like, it's too fast happen. I get embarrassed. I'm sorry, I apologize. I never ask him. I give him his beer. I took the money, close the draw, let second people take over. This is my mistake. You know what I mean? Sorry. I'm very embarrassed for town. I've been in Auburn for a long time, and you know what I mean? I do a lot of stuff, and I don't know. Sorry, I can't tell you more.
I'll open it to questions. Mr. Simonian?
I understand every business has its busy times, and that's probably, the opportunity for accidents, people getting hurt, something like this happening.
That's true.
So I understand, similar to what we've heard, I appreciate the fact that you acknowledge the mistake and and you're apologetic. It's gonna happen. You're gonna be busy again. You're gonna change shift again, and it's gonna be crazy. How do you prevent it from happening next time?
I will watch it very careful, and I promise you, it will never happen again. I already have stuff in the machine. You can't open cashier when you scan beer or scan cigarette or scratch ticket. It will give you the age and the date and the time you're born. Like, I don't know, it's like a date, time you're born and year. Will push which button you want to let the sales go through. I did it override it by mistake. I need to shovel a draw in. We've been having a rough day this day. Computer went down all day. Actually, town account all day. The credit card never went through. We did it manual. I've been having a problem all day. So by 3:30, everything came up and started running. A stress day happened. I apologize. Will never happen again. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna tell a story like everybody else tell you.
I understand everything you said. I understand that. My question is, how do you prevent it from happening again?
It will never happen again.
But how do you prevent that? It's, like I said, it will be busy.
You know
and there'll
what?
be
Even
changes.
if customer wait for 20 minutes and customer piss off left the station, will never happen again.
Are you the only employee who can do that override?
Yes, only me.
Okay.
Nobody else will touch the floor, only me. Nobody can, even my manager, my two manager, not even have code to do override, only me. And happened 4 o'clock when I jump from my office to help him.
I understand.
And I never do it. This is the first time.
I completely understand.
You know what I mean? I'm sorry.
I don't think there's any of us who could say that there aren't days where it's
I'm
crazy.
sorry, even
crazy
my
where we
manager
work.
can't do nothing override, no even safe, no even nothing, only me.
That's all I want, is
Thank you.
that you said you will make sure it doesn't happen again.
I promise.
Okay.
Does anyone else have anything? So I have a couple questions for you. You were the person who sold the alcohol?
Yes, I did. I'm sorry, I apologize.
And you have a system in place where you have to enter the date?
Yes.
Every time?
Every time.
And how many employees do you have who?
9.
9 employees who are...
8, 9 was me.
Okay, you have 8 or 9 employees who are trained to use
Yes.
this register that they have
Yes.
to put in the date?
Yes. Nobody can open it. Even if you put wrong date, it will never open. You need to put exactly date what the license say on it. You take a license, you check it. When you put a date, and if never match, even if you have a fake one, never match, will never open cashier to sell beer.
Okay, so I just want to understand how you overrode this transaction. You just put in a date, any date?
I put any date in it to open it. Yeah, I put actually not any date, I put my birthday on it. I put my birthday to go through it. Because I need to take the cashier to shovel it in to open pumps outside for everybody. But nobody can use it. So if you go and you put your number, say you put 12568, and the guy, his license is 12569, we never will sell it to you. Will be still shut down. You need to put exactly number. When I put the fake number, I need to put my password. I have private password, I can tell you. I put it in to unlock it, to open the cashier. So like if you go and you try to do it, and you try to put different age, will never unlock you. You need to use my private password. I did my private password because I need to use the draws.
Okay.
This is a password I use for my safe, for everything. Nobody will allow to have it. No, even my manager have it.
Okay.
Only me.
So are you saying that if someone comes in to buy alcohol, and they're 60,
Doesn't matter.
they have to,
ID.
we can't keep talking over each other,
I'm
okay?
sorry.
So just wait till I finish, and then I'll talk, and then you can answer my question, and I'll wait till you finish. So when someone comes in to buy alcohol, and if they're 70, you have to ask for a license so that you can put that date into that machine?
To open it, or we cannot open it.
Okay, and you're the only one, hold on, you're the only one who can press whatever buttons on that cash register you need to open it. So you're the only one that can, if they ask for an ID, can open that register without the correct date?
Yes.
Okay.
My employee not allowed. You not even have it, so it doesn't matter what.
So, is there ever been a time that someone came into your place that wanted to buy beer and say they were, and I'm just using 70 because that's the number that popped into my head, and they're 70, but they don't have their license? Do you ever just kind of put in a date?
Can I answer your questions?
I want
No?
you to answer my question.
No. Only me, I will do it. If say the chief came to buy beer, he don't have his ID. We know, you know what I mean, or anybody, he have no ID. I know how he, you know what I mean, but anything between like 35, 40 and less, we need ID. Like 7 years old, you don't need to ask him. You will tell him, take his ID. Okay, did you put it in? But if you don't have actual ID, nobody can open it. I don't care who. Even if you're 90 years old, even if you're 85 years old, you need to have your ID, your number to match the keyboard to open cashier for cigarette, for tobacco, and for alcohol.
Okay.
Not only, doesn't matter how old you are, you need to have a real ID.
Okay.
Some customer, like a 90 years old regular customer, we know him who he is, automatically give us at the table.
Okay, thank you for that explanation.
Thank
Is there anything else? Do you have anything else? Is there a motion to close the hearing?
So moved.
Is there a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The hearing is closed. Is there a motion regarding an alleged violation on September 14th?
I will make a motion that a violation did occur on September
16th, I'm sorry, 16th. A violation of, there's a motion that a violation did occur on
Second.
the 16th. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So it's been determined that you violated the conditions of your license on September 16th. Chief, do you have a recommendation?
Given the fact that he overrode the system and used his own date of birth, I would recommend that his license be suspended for 1 day on a Thursday.
So the chief has made a recommendation. Is there a motion?
Make a motion that we suspend it on November, is it 6th, Sharon?
Yes.
Thursday, November 6th.
Second.
Under discussion? So there's been a motion to suspend the license on November 6th on a Thursday. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So voted. So we'll follow up with you on the details. I believe in an establishment like yours, you would have to cover the alcohol and
We
and
have
also
lock, we lock the
have it
doors.
posted. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
The next item we have is Century Sportsman's Club, P.O. Box 115, a hearing, a 750 hearing for an alleged liquor license violation. Is there a motion to open the hearing?
Motion to open the hearing.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So voted. The hearing is open. Anyone giving testimony in this hearing, please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? I do. Thank you. If you could both give your names and spell your name for the record.
Alfred Aubin, A-U-B-I-N.
Jeff White, H-I-G-H-T.
Okay. And you received notification regarding tonight's hearing. Do you have any issues with the way you were notified?
No, we do not.
Okay. So we will hear from Detective Sergeant Mills.
Madam Chair. Excuse me, on September 17th, at approximately 7:09 hours, I drove along with the underage operative to Century Sportsman's Club. We parked. I instructed him to go inside and attempt to purchase alcohol. There were a few individuals milling about the outside of the club. He walked towards the front of the club. One of them opened the door for him and allowed him inside. He ordered a beer at the bar, was served a Bud Light bottle at the bar, and he remained inside for a little bit longer than I was comfortable with, quite honestly, and I actually got out of my car and spoke to, I believe, this gentleman that's seated here, and they were actually giving him a tour of the club and, you know, telling him about some of the programs and things that were coming up. But then I eventually got him to come out of the building, and that was it. We didn't have any other further discussion. He described the person that served him was a white male with a short, tight beard. He was wearing at the time a maroon-colored shirt and a white hat. And the underage operative didn't obviously get his name at that point. And that's all I have.
Okay. Do you have any questions for the police officers regarding the statements that they just made?
Yes, just one. Did you observe the sale or see the alcoholic beverage that was sold to him?
Yes, I, excuse me, I got out of the cruiser and walked to the right outside of the front door, and I could see the beer in front of him at the corner of the bar as he was standing there.
And also, if I may, were there any other people at the bar with beers?
There were other people in the bar area. I don't know if any of them had beer at the time. There were two gentlemen standing outside that I ended up speaking with, and there were at least two, possibly three individuals inside.
So there possibly could have been other people with beers at that bar?
I mean, anything's possible, but the operative was sent in to purchase a Bud Light beer. There was a Bud Light beer in front of him, and he told me that this gentleman that he described served him a Bud Light beer. I observed a Bud Light beer in the vicinity of where he was standing prior to the tour commencing. And so, in my opinion, it sure appeared that he had been served an alcoholic beverage, and the money that I gave him, he returned with less money.
Okay. First of all, I want to apologize because we're not going to dispute the fact that there was a sale made. My name, Alfred Aubin. I'm on the board of directors with the Sportsman's Club. I came here tonight with the president and the bar chairman, and we completely apologize to the town. Obviously, this is a terrible mistake, and it's something that we are very much ashamed of doing. And we have been working very diligently with our organization for the last 15 years that I've been involved to try to abide by all of the moral obligations in which sportsmen stand for, which is working with our children and helping in the community here in Auburn if possible and when possible. On that night, the alleged individual who came in and purchased the alcohol, he came in and inquired if our bar was open. And our bar is not open to the public 24 hours, 7 days a week. It's only open for rented events and our public events. So it was said to him that the bar was not open unless you were a member. The young man asked about our membership. So it was explained to him by our president and the bartender that was acting at that time that you needed to be 21 years of age to join. And that, it was a working club and we had requirements and there was obligations that he needed to fulfill to be a member, and in which case he showed an interest. And at that point, he was given an application that I have here with me, in which he filled out his date of birth as 11/15/1990, which is, kind of misleading to represent somebody that you're 21 years of age to buy alcohol. You got to be 21 years of age to join our organization. So he was questioned about it, and he submitted this application to the bartender and said he would like to go through the process of joining. At that point, the bartender took his good word and good faith that he was 21 and put a Bud Light on the counter and served him without asking for an ID. The board of directors was notified immediately after because the president did notice that it was kind of peculiar that the acting officer here tonight came in and looked for him and then immediately left and left the beer on the counter. And the tip certified bartender who was there at that time had said, you know, I think we just got stung. And in fact, we knew we did. So I apologize, and on behalf of the club membership, the board of directors, for that action. But we do believe it was a little misleading, and it may not be the fairest of stings, but it did happen, and it made us stronger from that. And we did take immediate action as well. The bartender who was on duty, in which we only have 3 staff members, and they're all volunteer members, was relieved of duties till the end of the year until the board can reconvene and decide what's going to happen. The acting bar chairman has stepped up to fill those roles, which are very limited anyways. We have Friday and Saturday evenings here in October, and we open on Wednesday nights for our meetings, unless there's a rental for somebody. And we also put in place a policy that says, and it has been the unwritten policy, that all non-members are carded 100% no matter who they are, and that they do comply with the tip cert qualifications, which is the born on date. We have the little calendar chart that's right next to the register, because we do have rentals to weddings, anniversaries, baby showers, and sometimes kids' birthday parties where parents would like a beverage, and they use our facility for that. So we're always carding people. In the 15 years that I've been on the board of directors, I do not know of any one instance that this has happened. And again, we completely apologize, and we are taking every step and measure to make sure this would never happen again, which would include that we're asking for positive identification for our membership as well.
Is that all you have for right now?
That's all I have for right now.
Do you have any questions for the applicant, for the license holder?
I do not.
Okay, I'll open it up to board questions. Mr. Carpenter?
Just a quick question. You mentioned that he filled out an application with a misleading date of birth. The license requires a club such as yourself to only serve members and guests. You identified that he was neither a member nor a guest. What are your procedures when somebody comes in and asks to be a member? You don't ask for ID, you don't ask, what is the process to become a member, I guess is?
That's a very good question, and I have that answer right here in front of me. And the process is, to become a member, you need to be sponsored by a member. So we're always seeking sportsmen, and we're always trying to, gain, reputable, good moral sportsmen here in the community to build our membership. And after talking briefly with this young man, the president and one of the other members endorsed him, thus making him a guest of them while he was there, with the assumption that he was who he said he was and the age he said he was.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Simonian?
I have a question for Detective Sergeant Mills. Were you aware of the application that he submitted?
I was aware. He told me that he filled out an application. They're told, any underage operative that we use is told expressly they are not to misrepresent their age. If they're asked for identification, they're to provide their own. He said, I was aware, and I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No,
I was aware that he did fill out an application, or at least began that process, but he never mentioned that he misrepresented his.
Are they required to go over these guidelines with you prior to the operation?
Yes. I go over the second page that you have.
Okay.
I go over those verbatim with each underage operative.
And they're required to
sign it? I have a sign form.
The 10th item on this list says, "At no time shall the underage person attempt to misrepresent their age or provide any identification."
Correct.
And it seems that this person did. So, do you feel that he was in violation of number 10 on that list? The operative?
He definitely violated that by misrepresenting his age.
Okay.
I wouldn't disagree with that. I would question the timeline of events. My belief in what I observed, that the beer was served prior to any application, because he would have had to walk through the door, immediately begin to fill out an application. And, I mean, we're not talking about the period of time. he's in there at 7:09, and at 7:30 we were leaving. Yes, that's 23 minutes, but that includes the application being filled out, a short tour, and I believe they also asked him to stay for a meeting. So I would have a question, and I'm not saying he's not telling the truth, just my opinion or version of the timeline would be that he went in, he was served the beer when he asked for a beer, then he was given an application, then he was given a tour.
Okay, I appreciate it.
I'm sorry, unless you want to be sworn, but, okay, just hold on one moment, please.
If I may,
Excuse me.
through the chair.
I would like to have him sworn in, because it seems like he's going to speak to the question that I asked and the one I'm probably about to ask, so if you want, I'd appreciate it if you would.
Do you swear to give the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Please come to the microphone and give your name for the record and spell your name for the record.
My name is Eugene Aubin, Aubin.
Okay, the first Mr. Aubin testified to what occurred. And-
Okay.
Hold on.
Hold on,
Sorry,
please.
I'm sorry.
Let me finish. If I remember right, and correct me if I'm wrong, when you testified, the timeline that you gave was the beer was purchased after the application was submitted. Is that correct?
That is correct.
I'm asking the gentleman who previously gave testimony first. That's what you stated, that,
I did state that the beer was served after the application was filled out. Yes, I did.
so it appears that you're gonna speak to that as well, so if you have an
Okay.
answer to that question as well, please.
The reason I asked to be sworn in for this here is I was there, and we went through everything with that application, and then I walked out the door, and I approached this gentleman here, and I asked him if it was his son or something. He seemed a little nervous. He was ready to get out of there. And I turned around and I walked back to the club, to the door, and he passed by to go in the car, and they got out of there. And I went in and I said, something's not right. And at that point, we realized that we'd been stung. But that application was made out. I signed on with him. I explained everything. And he was not served anything until I walked out that door.
So I just want to understand it, because he walked in, he asked if the bar was open. That precipitated the conversation about you could only order a beer if you were a member. And at that point, the discussion began about him becoming a member. Is that correct? That's what you're...
I cannot say the conversation before as far as that. I was at the bar. Jason was at the bar at the time. And when I noticed them there, because I was doing something...
Jason?
No.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay?
Okay.
He was talking to him about a membership. He said, oh, this is the president. Ask him, and he'll explain things to you.
Okay.
And he went to do something else. I talked with him for a few minutes, explained things and everything, and he was making the application out. And then the application was put up on a thing, and I walked out. And when I walked out, he had no beer before that. When I walked out, like I said, I approached this gentleman, and that's all I know.
All right, thank you.
Yes.
If I may, I have one comment or question, if I could, through the chair, to the officer. Is it protocol that once the individual is served a beverage, that he immediately leaves? So if he was served a beverage prior to the application, I don't think the application would have ever been signed. That's why I do believe he did violate the protocol in which was used.
If I may.
You may.
The protocol is that he leaves within a reasonable period of time afterwards. I mean, once the beer is placed in front of them, they don't just run out the door. Usually they stay without drinking any of it, obviously, and then they leave as, in a quick enough time period. They don't want to linger too long, but you don't want to just run out the door either. So,
Inconspicuous.
Correct.
If I may, to the chair as well, and that may be in the case in most situations. I think, obviously, we've shown that that wasn't. And you had mentioned that it was a concerning amount of time prior in your opening statement that, you know, you had a concern enough to go in to find out what was going on. So I just wanted you to be aware of all the facts in which I've observed and which we thought was a little misleading and maybe somewhat entrapping.
So, go ahead, Chief.
Could you tell me the name of the person that served the beer to this gentleman?
Yes, his name is Jason Height.
Where is Jason?
Jason was unable to come tonight. Again, we're a sportsman's club. It's kind of like a family, tight-knit. You can see there's relatives that have been keeping this organization together for a decade and a half now so that we can preserve our conservation and our hunting and fishing efforts. Jason was unable to attend, but Jason is a tip-certified bartender. He's been a member of the club for about 5 years and has worked on the bar for about as long. He's worked many events, and we've never had any instance like this, and he is pretty much hardcore to the people on the outside on demanding IDs. I mean, we've had rentals where people come in and say, hey, you know, I've been renting here for years, and look, if you don't have an ID, I can't take your word, I don't know you, I can't serve you. And we follow the guidelines that are on that little born on date, and it says if someone looks to be under 30 years old, ID them. And if they have an ID that doesn't have this date, they can't be served. We have also posted signs right at the bar, positive ID required, and the executive board has decided to make action to have all, which are only 3 bartenders, recertified again this January, just to bring them up to date on any of the recent changes that may have occurred.
In being as diligent as a bartender as Jason is, he was still unable to make it here tonight. Is that my understanding?
Yes, he had a work obligation.
That's okay, thank you.
So, I have several questions. Either one of you present?
I was.
You were?
Jason's my brother. I was.
Okay, if you could step over to the microphone, please. Did you see the person enter?
Yes, I was at the door as he approached. He got out of the car. I was outside talking with a different member, and I came in while he was there.
No, I want details. So he went in first?
He initially asked me if he'd go in there. I didn't know who he was. I figured he was there to meet somebody. I figured he was there for the meeting. The board of directors meeting was that night, so I thought he was here to apply for membership. So he asked if he could go inside. I said that he could. A few minutes later, I followed him in. Not initially.
Okay. I'm going to ask you questions, if you don't mind, as you go along. A few minutes later, what?
Correct.
Roughly, a few is 3 or 4?
Probably 5. I was in the middle
5
of a
minutes.
conversation with somebody.
So he's now been inside for 5 minutes
Correct.
with just the bartender?
Me, the bartender, I believe another member, Steve, and possibly another one.
Okay.
There was a few of them in there.
And so you went inside,
I went inside.
and where was the,
He was talking to the people at the bar. I went in with the guy I was talking to. We continued our conversation, and then eventually made it over to the bar.
he was talking to the people at the bar? Be more specific.
The underage was talking to the bartender, I don't know if Gene was in there at the time, the people that were sitting at the stools at the bar.
Okay, and who had,
I was in a hall, it's a big room. I walked in, didn't immediately walk over to him. When he was filling out his application. I don't recall if he had his beer yet or not, to be honest.
Thank you for that honesty.
I verbally asked him how old he was. He verbally told me 24. And then when he left, we double-checked his application, and it said 24. And that's all I have, if you have any questions.
but you don't know whether he had a beer in front of him. So you don't know whether he ordered a Bud Light and was served.
I saw the Bud Light there after he left, because it was full, sitting there. When he received it, I do not know.
You don't know, you were sitting there going through the application process and you don't know?
I was not specifically talking to him. Like I said, there was a few people in there. I did ask him a couple of questions, but I did not necessarily have a conversation with him. I was not bartending. I just happened to be a witness.
Okay. But you did see him with a beer eventually?
I assumed that was the beer that was
Okay.
left there when he left.
And are you aware that he was ever asked for identification?
I did not see the bartender asking for one. I do not believe he was carded.
Could I ask you some questions, please? If you could come up to the microphone. Were you inside when
Yes,
he came in?
yes, I was inside.
And so you observed him. Tell me exactly what happened.
The gentleman that came in, the underage person that came in, he had talked outside, he came in, and like I said, I was sitting near the bar, and I was doing something else, and Jason said to me, he said to the young man, he said, oh, here's the president, he'll let you know a little bit more about the club. And so I took and I explained things to him. And then, like I said, when I got done explaining, the biggest thing was explaining to him that it's a working club, you're required 100 hours in a year, you have to be here in October, et cetera, et cetera. So when I got done with that, I walked outside. I didn't,
Did he have a
gave
beer
him the
at that?
information and I walked outside.
Did he have a beer at that time?
No,
And you're sure of that?
I am positive of that.
Do board members have questions? Mr. Carpenter?
Sergeant Mills, you said that he was in for a while, so you went to the door. You could observe by speaking, you were speaking to a member outside the club initially, but you could observe the bar where the young gentleman was and anybody else nearby.
Yes, sir. I could see through a window. There's a window prior to where you would enter up the little stairway, and I observed a beer. If at the reports that you have in front of you, you'll see that it's a pretty consistent 3 to 5 minutes tops, in and out. And when it got to be 4 or so minutes, I was concerned. There's one person in there, there's no police officer in there watching him. I'm responsible for him. So I wanted to make sure he was okay, and he was standing at the corner of the bar with a beer in front of him. And I know I didn't wait 20 minutes. I waited, I'm guessing, about 4 or so minutes before I got up. And I'm not disputing what they're saying. I haven't seen the application. I'm disappointed that he misrepresented his age, because it's clearly something he's told not to do, and he didn't do it in any of the other instances. But in my estimation, you still have a violation because he was provided with beer. He was never identified. There was never any identification offered.
So when you observed him, other people were around him, were they outward facing, so you couldn't see if there were any alcohol on the table? Where were the other people who were around him when you witnessed him have an alcoholic beverage?
I was focused on the bartender.
Okay.
As far as trying to be able to identify him and describe him.
Okay.
And at one point, the bartender actually left and walked out to his truck or a vehicle and met with somebody else and then walked back in. I remember seeing at least one other person at the bar, but his back was to me.
Okay. So if he had a beer, you wouldn't have been able to see him because his physical...
And there was one other gentleman, I don't know if I saw him outside. He had a long gray beard, and he was wearing high, like galoshes type boots and some camouflage stuff.
I've never been to your club, so bear with me. How is it oriented when you walk in the door?
When you walk in the door, there's 2 rooms. Beyond the bar is a hall, and the other part is a smaller hall with a fireplace, and on the right side is a bar. So you walk straight in, and the bar is on the right-hand side, and there's stairs that go downstairs in a ladies' room off to the right.
So how many people were at the bar when you witnessed this young gentleman come in?
There were a few people in there, but offhand, I really can't tell you who. The old person he's talking about, Farmer, we refer to him as Farmer. I know that he was out there. I talked with him a little earlier, and I talked with him later. But everybody comes and goes, and I was doing something, fixing something there. I was making a drum for a thing that we were doing. And I got, like I said, I answered him, and basically he handed them off to me because he was busy getting his stuff together.
Right.
And like I said, I answered the questions, and as soon as I was done, that's, you know.
Was the young gentleman sitting at the bar? Was anybody else sitting at the bar when he was handed off to you?
No, he hadn't sat at the bar, he hadn't made it to the bar when he started talking to me. He talked to me, they handed him an application, and he was making it out as he was talking, and he was at the table right in front of me before he got to the bar. And from that point on, like I said, I got done talking with him, I walked out, so.
So you don't know if there was any gentleman sitting at the bar consuming alcohol as you were doing your
Well, I know that I
drawing?
had one, and I know that Jason had one, and there were a couple other people in the building.
Right.
And
But just the bar area, someone sitting at the bar. Was there any one of your members sitting at the bar
there was a couple
close
of
to
them.
where the beer was seen?
Yeah,
Because the
there's-
representation is, well, maybe somebody else ordered it. So my concern is, who was sitting at the bar? And usually if you're drinking a beer, you're not over here with a beer, especially at a bar.
Right.
So where would they be seated?
They would have been behind me. I was sitting there looking the other way. I was sitting at the very end of the bar when you walk in. And like I said, I was busy with something. I answered the questions for him. I do a few of them around that were in the building. And I'm sorry, I really don't, I can't give you an honest answer without trying to say that somebody, I don't know. I knew there were people in the building, and I knew they were upstairs here, but I can't say it.
So the representation has been made that item 10 says he was a bad boy. He shouldn't have said that he was 21, 24, of any age. He should have, when you presented it, probably should have backed off and gone away. But two of your members, without knowing anybody, knowing this kid from yesterday's newspaper, vouched for him so that he could have a beer at an establishment. So irrespective of, for me personally, irrespective of the fact that this gentleman acted somewhat inappropriately, I think the adults who said, hey, I'll sponsor you, without knowing who this kid was, not knowing any particulars about him, are going to, it's your club, you can sponsor anybody you like, but I mean, I would think that you would want
Wait till you're recognized.
you would want to at least get some sort of verification that who this person is of age before they sit at your bar as your guest, because two of your members said he can be a member, or we'll sponsor him as a member. He went to the bar and said, can I have a beer? And he got it. So for me personally, I mean, there's a lot of responsibility, and I don't think it absolves you of responsibility as an adult when you see someone. You know, I'm 41, and when I'm driving around, I'm in and out of registries all the time. And let me tell you, the kids are getting younger and younger looking, so I know I'm getting older and older. So, and I'm with them all the time. So, to me, as an adult, I would think that you would want to, before you put your name on anything, that you would, and allow someone to be a guest of yours, you would want to ask them for some identification, especially if they're asking for alcohol at your bar.
I have a question for you. Did you, I'm just following up on Mr. Carpenter's questions, and you were discussing who had alcohol in front of them, and you said Jason had one of the beers?
Jason, yes. Jason took, well, I'm going to assume that he had it.
Okay, because he was on duty,
No, he wasn't on duty. He wasn't on
served the
duty.
beer. You said he was a bartender.
He was stocking the bar is what he was doing.
Who served the beer to the...
I can't even tell you that because I told you I walked out. But the only thing that I wanted to say was we have many people that come in to want to join or have questions to join. And we have a series of questions that we ask them. Are you a member of GOAL? or NRA, et cetera. What interest do you have for sporting? Do you shoot? Do you hunt? Do you fish? Et cetera. And through those questions, that is the reason that I put it on there, because you can't unless you're referred by somebody or whatever. I talked with him, and that was only in reference for membership. It was not in reference for him, for me to say that, to serve him alcohol. Okay. I would expect that whoever served him would follow the protocol for serving.
Thank you for saying that. So I do want to ask the question I just asked you. Did you just tell Mr. Carpenter that Jason had the beer in front of him?
Jason pulled the beer out of the cooler, and like I said, I got a beer. And whether Jason actually had one or not there, he may have had one, but he was not, we weren't even open yet. We were just getting ready for a members meeting. Okay. The bar wasn't open or whatever like that, but if he's in there, if a member wants a beer or something and asks, then he will give the person a beer. As far as that goes, and as far as we're getting ready for a meeting. You know what I'm saying? So
before we close the hearing, I just want to say a couple things. This is our 5th hearing tonight, and this clearly has been the most troubling for me. Everyone has come in and been apologetic for serving to a minor. You came in defensive. You did come in defensive, questioning the police officer, questioning our policy. You have to know that it's very difficult to conduct one of these compliance checks with a private club. I mean, you can't walk in. The bottom line is your bartenders are supposed to check the age. Mm-hmm. You haven't admitted that you really made a mistake. We know that you haven't. I'm speaking. Thank you. I just haven't been impressed with the attitude through this whole hearing. You're a private club. We have little oversight, public oversight, for what's happening. I acknowledge the good work you do, the work you do for the community, but the attitude of this hearing has raised some real concerns for me, because it wasn't about, geez, we had someone come in, we thought he'd be a member, we need members, we thought he'd make a good member, but you know what? We screwed up. We didn't ask him for an ID. It's been excuse after excuse, questioning the police officer, some questionable recollections of who was where when, and I'm just really disappointed as license holders when clearly, whether he wrote 1990 on a piece of paper, that you still don't want to acknowledge, that you never asked to see his license to check his ID. That raises real concerns for me when your members, and I'm members of private clubs as well, when your members have a guest who signs that book as a guest of mine, the bartender still has to ask them for their ID. And I'm just really disappointed in the attitude and the different stories, and I wish Jason was here himself so I could ask him if he was drinking while on duty, because that's also a violation of your license. And it was just thrown out there as a statement to, we'll get to everyone. I acknowledge it's a private club, and that's why you need to be more vigilant, because the oversight is from you. Mr. Simonian.
The first Mr. Aubin that spoke, he did acknowledge that, and he did apologize. I don't think that it should be held against them that they had questions for Detective Sergeant Mills, it's part of the process. Every person in this country has a right to present a defense, and that's part of the whole hearing. So I'm just putting that out there because I don't think that, you know, we should hold the fact that they presented a defense against them. I don't like the fact that someone underage got served. I've stated that enough tonight, so I'm not going to go over that again. I also don't care for the fact that we can't question Jason, we can't question the operative. He read these, he went over these with Sergeant Mills, Detective Sergeant Mills. He signed it and acknowledged that he understood this, and yet he violated at least 2, possibly 3 things on the list. That bothers me too, because we sit here and hold these license hearings, and it's about fairness, doing the right thing. I abhor minors purchasing alcohol, for the reasons I've stated. But at the same time, it's kind of hard for me to say we have to hold you strictly to this one instance, which absolutely you should never violate your license, and you know that. At the same time, it seems to me that we're also saying, well, it's okay that these rules were violated because it justified catching someone violating their license. Sat here with Detective Sergeant Mills on several occasions at these hearings. I do believe that he follows protocol. I do believe that he absolutely did the right thing here. At the same time, you guys were questioned by 3 different people, and for the most part, it was the same answer. It didn't change. This is a first for me, because I'm kind of bothered by by those 2 things on both sides. One, that these rules were violated, also that a minor purchased alcohol. So that's where I'm at. I appreciate your honesty, but you know what you did was wrong too, so.
And before I let you speak, I'm just going to say that I have no issue with you asking questions of the police officers. That's the protocol. That's the way we conduct a hearing. My statement was the tone and the nature of the entire hearing. So for the record, that I believe that the minor went in, ordered a beer, began a conversation about a membership, was served that beer. You continued the conversation about the membership, and you're shaking your head no, but you can't tell me when he got the beer, so. And Jason's not here.
No,
So one of you will speak next, so I'll let you speak, and then you'll speak.
I just want to say I apologize.
Please go to the microphone.
Sorry, excuse me. I just want to say I apologize if there was any offense in the tone or the sincerity in which any of which we spoke in representation of our club. We do acknowledge it was a big, horrible mistake, and we are doing everything we possibly can to make sure this will not happen again. We have told you, what we're going to do that. We're going to make a bylaw change within our rules to state that positive identification is shown before anyone has become put on our waiting list as a member. We are going to post these things inside the clubhouse, and we do acknowledge that our bartender did, in fact, sell to a minor without IDing him, and we do, in fact, have reprimanded him and removed him from our bar staff. So the club and the executive board of directors is taking this matter very seriously, and we will be diligent in our efforts to make sure that this does not happen again. And I do again apologize if there was any misconception of our tone or our attitude.
I'm just saying, on our part, you have to understand that these checks are done. Most places are very public. It's not, how can we unfairly sting them? But you're a private club. If they walk in, Auburn Police, with a 19-year-old, I know you're going to check their ID. This is for the safety and protection of the residents of Auburn. And if everyone just brings it down a little bit, I respect, again, the work that you're doing, but the bottom line is you didn't ask for an ID for the beer.
I just have one question.
Yes, Mr. Carpenter.
Can we hold the hearing until this bartender, so there was a bartender on duty, but other people were serving at the bar?
There is 3 bartenders listed. There's Jeff as the bar chairman, there is his brother Jason, and there is one other, I believe it is his father, Frank. All of the board unanimously had decided that, you know, Jason made a mistake and it was a bad mistake and that we had to take immediate action. So we're not disputing that fact. So, and the fact that he couldn't be here, that was his personal, he works nights and it's a swing shift, so some nights he's on, some nights he's off. He wasn't able to be here. I don't know if it's relevant or not. I mean, there were other establishments that didn't have their employees who made the sale here. We do acknowledge we made a mistake, and we are doing everything we possibly can, and we will continue to do that to guarantee that the safety of the community is kept at its best on our property.
My reason for the question was because it sounded like it was a member meeting, we weren't really open, so I'm trying to figure out, on any given night, how many people are serving alcohol? So you have 3 people on this bar committee. Who's behind the bar? Is one person assigned per night? Are 2 people assigned per night? Who ultimately is sitting there, not who generally oversees as a club matter?
Okay, on meeting nights, there's generally one bartender, and that bartender is Jason.
Okay.
And that's it. During the events, there are 2 bar staff put on whenever there's an event. So there will be 2 bartenders there.
So if I'm on the bar committee and I want a beer and Jason is over here, I can just go behind the counter and get a beer. Or if I'm on the bar committee and this gentleman came and said, I want a beer, I can go behind, no matter who's assigned, if I'm on the committee, is that what you're saying?
No, only the
serve
assigned
alcohol?
bartender for the evening that's the bar is open is allowed to serve alcohol. And if he needs a break, only a tip certified member is allowed to give him a break during that time, which would be either Jeff or Frank.
And I don't necessarily feel that he needs to be here either. I'm just offering you an opportunity, because there has been, you were out of the room, this gentleman was out of the room. In the fog of members' meetings, nobody can sit there and tell you exactly what happened. But we have a bartender. So I'm just trying to give your club every opportunity to address this board. And I'm certainly not saying you didn't take responsibility. I'm not asking you for an apology. I'm not asking you if you want to accept responsibility. That's all this member expects, is that if you did it, you don't have to come in here and apologize to me. You do have to take responsibility. And it sounds like you are doing that and have done that when you first stepped up. And it sounds like your organization is trying to make some positive steps because of what happened. But again, my interest is giving your organization the chance to give your side of the story, but it certainly doesn't have to be that way. You know, that's certainly, for me as a member, I'm new, this is my first time, and I had 5 hearings. So, you know, that doesn't really speak well of these establishments. You're not the only one, but as the chair mentioned, you're a private club. You say, I didn't say he was 21, but you vouched for him, that made him a guest, that's what you're saying, that because I vouched for him, he's a guest, so he can now, if I walked in to this establishment, unless you signed by form, I'm not a guest, so I'm not supposed to be served. So he's not a member. He's not a guest really known to any of you. There seem to be several bartenders that are going behind getting a beer and whatnot, and that's all well and good. But the bottom line is, a minor came in, your bartender, one of them, served him alcohol. Members of your club, not knowing who this kid was, vouched for him to make the next step so that he could be a guest, so he could be served on a membership night, which I would think is a very busy night for any club. People coming in and out, whatnot. So, I mean, there's critical failures right there, that bartenders are seemingly going back and forth, members are vouching for people that they don't know. You know, I agree with Steve and whatnot, but, I mean, the kid exercised bad judgment, perhaps, but that doesn't absolve you as a adult running an organization with a liquor license to vouch for somebody, which again, it's your club, you can do as you like, but you're vouching for somebody and you want to say that he's a guest, because that's a violation too, because only members or guests are supposed to be served. He was neither a member nor a guest known to any of the members. So to me, you know, it's clear. This kid went in, he took advantage of 4 establishments. But the bottom line is, you didn't exercise your judgment, which you're required to do, which is what I'm going to be voting on, you know. So I appreciate your candor, and like I said, I'm happy to hold the hearing if the members want to, if this gentleman wants to come in and give his side of the story. I mean, if members feel that it's important that we talk to this young gentleman and get his side of the story, because there are 2 sides, you know, I'm perfectly willing to wait till the next public meeting and let's get him in here if we can, and we'll do this. You know, if we want to be fair.
Well, I'll just say that for myself, I'm ready to move forward with a vote that there is an admittance that there was no ID shown and there was a violation of the license. But I do, just for the record, want to ask the chief, because it was said that the bartender nor the operative were here available for testimony. Could you please explain why you and the Detective Sergeant Mills are here and don't make the operative available?
Basically out of fear of reprisal. No one knows who he or she is. Sometimes we use males, sometimes we use females, and we try to keep their identity as anonymous as possible.
And concern, you had mentioned concern for the, integrity of the investigation. Okay. Do members have anything else?
No.
Is there a motion to close the hearing?
Could I just ask a quick question? When is the next members' meeting?
We have Board of Directors meeting are held on the 3rd Wednesday of every month, and members' meetings are held on the 1st Wednesday of every month.
And how many people attend the Board of Directors meeting?
There are 16 board members and an acting president.
And how many attend the members' meeting?
There are close to 100 members, mixed with life members and regular membership, and we get approximately a third of that on our best meeting nights.
1/3 of that, so about 30 people?
About 30 to 40 people, yes, correct.
Okay, thank you.
Motion to close the meeting, the hearing.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The hearing is closed. Is there a motion regarding the finding?
I would make a motion that a violation did occur on September 16th.
17th, sir.
17th, sorry.
Excuse me.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So you've been found in violation of your license on September 17th. Chief, do you have a recommendation?
Given the totality of everything that has occurred, and I'm less than enchanted with what the young man did, the 19-year-old that we sent in there. I believe the testimony was that they are not open on Monday, Tuesday, or Thursday, is that correct?
Correct.
I don't think they'd be eligible for a violation on Friday or Saturday. I think taking everything into consideration, I would say that one of the Wednesdays when they have a meeting would probably be fair. But that would have to be with the understanding that while the members are there or the board members are there, that there is to be no consumption of alcohol on the premises. I don't know that they're necessarily selling it to make a boatload of money with 16 or 30 people there. But I would just ask that if you did adopt that that condition would be listed as part of the disposition.
So the chief has recommended a Wednesday that the Board of Directors meets. Is it the Board of Directors or the full member?
If it's the first Wednesday, it would be a full membership meeting, and we would gracefully accept either.
So moved. Whatever the date is for that first Monday, or first Wednesday, rather.
It's November 5th.
November 5th.
Is there a second for discussion?
Second.
So I have a question for you. I know that you, you know, a lot of your income is generated from private functions. Are you aware of a function scheduled for that evening? Because I certainly wouldn't want to punish someone who has rented your facility.
Just our meeting is scheduled, and that's probably our busiest bar night as well. So it's not really a detriment monetarily to our organization on any given night. So we would accept, and like I said, gracefully any which one you would.
I just want to confirm that you don't have your facility rented for someone who's counting on using that facility that evening?
No, we do not.
Is there further discussion? Mr. Simonian?
I'm going to ask the board to not support this motion and to consider giving them no penalty. I understand the statement that there will be no financial impact. I've talked all night about the opportunity to learn from these things. I appreciate the fact that Chief was very candid about how he felt about the way this was conducted. I believe, as I said before, I have no reason to believe that Detective Sergeant Mills didn't do this by the book. He's demonstrated that time and time again. I believe he did everything exactly as it should have been. I have no reason to doubt what these gentlemen said for the most part, and they did acknowledge that it was a mistake. I agree, we've found them in violation. If they were to come back here a second time, I'd support anything this board wanted to do as far as the license. But in this case, I think that finding them in violation and the potential for worse circumstances if they come back here would be enough, given the fact that several of the guidelines were violated by the compliance check operative. I think that, you know, he was presented with a situation that he hadn't been in before. He walked in, people started asking him questions about memberships. They put a piece of paper in front of him. Maybe he felt that, you know, if I put the right date on it, they're gonna know it's gonna blow the operation. He wasn't sure what to do, so he put a date that would make him look older than 21. Again, I think it's on him and it's on the bartender. I hate the fact that a minor purchased alcohol, but at the same time, in a sense of fair play, I think that both sides should bear something so that, you know, the opportunity is there to learn on both sides. And that, you know, Detective Sergeant Mills said he goes over this, they sign it. I have no reason to doubt that he goes over this every single time. In this case, I think that the gentleman was presented with something he hadn't before, and this is an opportunity to maybe cover some other scenarios. The next time you have to go over these guidelines, hey, this could happen, you know, you gotta be ready for anything. So I'm just asking the board to take that all into consideration. The chief himself said all things considered, it's kind of, you know, a different scenario, whatever the words were that he used, so I'm just asking you to please consider that. I think that finding him in violation is, in this case, enough penalty, because if they come back, I'm gonna support whatever the board wants to do with that license. So that's my 2 cents on this one.
Quick question. 2 questions, one for Steve. Under the scenario that we have, he could not misrepresent his age, could he? So what is the likelihood that he comes in a second time. This club comes in a second time, because if a person goes in and fills out, I mean, the likelihood is that this club, because of that, will never come before you again.
Maybe, maybe not. There's, we've seen it, we've seen it here tonight, all night long. Our manager is never in the back. In this case, manager is in the back, and the chart was read wrong. This scenario right here, the operative has gone in, purchased a 6-pack or a 12-pack or a beer, put it on the table, or walked out with it, handed it to Second Sergeant Mills, and then the rest of the operation follows its course. In each one of these 5 hearings tonight, and believe me, I don't disagree with a lot of what you said.
No.
I just think that, in a sense of fair play, to be a complete stickler on one side for all of the rules, but say the other side kind of gets a free pass, I think you kind of got to have some fairness there.
Well, I would say 2 rules were broken. The fact that a stranger walked into a club, which has more stringent rules than the other 4 have, because you have to be a guest or a member. He was neither. He was served because 2 members said, hey, we're going to sponsor him for membership.
I completely understand.
So, to me, that just kind of vitiates the fact that I agree, he exercised poor judgment. However, in the case of anything, the bottom line is, how many times do you hear on the news, anybody can paint fully insured on their van? So you drive up and you see your neighbor hired Lucky Louie's, fence menders, and it says fully insured. Well, unless you call and find out that he didn't just ask the sign company to paint on fully insured, you have absolutely no idea that they're fully insured, or you ask for proof of insurance. And so many people do not ask, and they get a very bad result, unfortunately. And this is the same thing. You knew this kid went in, no matter what representations he made, you were supposed to say to him, where's your ID? Where is that ID? That ID wasn't checked. So to me, you did 2 things. You served somebody who really isn't a guest or a member, and second of all, you didn't follow protocol. So to me, I don't think that vitiates our responsibility. Obviously, I'm sure the chief and the detective sergeant will reinforce tenfold that you don't do that. However, and the second question I have is more of a process question. If we do not suspend them, and for some awful reason they come before us again, is this counted as a first strike? Well, because we did not suspend, are we undermining the suspension?
I believe it's based on per violation, not per penalty. So I would consider this a first violation. And through the chair, I'm just going to say again, I'm not disagreeing with the points that you made. I'm just saying, what's the purpose of this? If these rules don't need to be followed, throw it out. Let them go in and say, hey, I'm, represent however they want. I mean, these rules must have been written for some reason to be followed.
I agree with you, but they had other rules that they got before they got a license.
So I'm going to answer Mr. Carpenter's question, and I'll point you to our own policy that says if a licensee has been found in violation, blah, 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 the licensee shall have its license suspended for a period of 24 hours. And I'll just say briefly, because we have many people waiting, that I am going to support the motion to suspend, because based on the testimony that I heard and the questions and answers that I heard, I believe that the beer was served, and we began the process of looking at the application and filling an application. That's my right as a board member to listen to the testimony and make my own judgment. It's a one-day suspension. We discussed it being a private club and the issues raised when trying to conduct a compliance check, so I am going to support this motion.
Yes, and I think Steve has a valid point as well, and I'm certainly not, I just think the totality of circumstances that there were so many checks that weren't followed, that, you know, the kid did exercise poor judgment, without question, but he wasn't the only one in that room, and he was the only one in that room who had no financial interest in a license. He didn't come before this board like others have and said, yes, I read all the rules, yes, I'm going to follow every rule. Well, they didn't. So you got your license based on a set of rules. This kid exercised poor judgment, but there was poor judgment all around. The bottom line is a 19-year-old, if he had so chosen, could have chugged that beer to his heart's content and probably gotten more. So to me, the first responsibility is you have a liquor license, you have an obligation to follow the rules that have been given to you and been explained to you. And a secondary factor is, which I will admit I find comical, is that we announce that we're doing these things. So it's not even stealth. We're telling you in every paper that somewhere, at some time, within X number of days, a kid is going to wander into your establishment and try and get alcohol. So you were warned, rather publicly and notoriously warned, that this sting was occurring, and it still happened. So, I mean, those are all things that weigh on my decision to say, on top of the fact that the chairman did say that the policy says shall, it does not say may or can, so I don't think we unfortunately have the authority to do it unless we have the authority to suspend our rules, which we probably
Okay, so I'm going to call for the vote. There's a motion to suspend on Wednesday, November 5th. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Mr. Simonian. Thank you for coming in, and you'll receive more information.
Again, I sincerely apologize to the town and the chief, and we look forward to trying to make this.
Thank you.
Okay. Could I have a motion for a 2-minute recess?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? We'll recess for 2 minutes.
Return.
I'd like to call this meeting back to order. Seeing the lateness of the meeting, and we have a very, very brief agenda item, I'll entertain a motion to move up item 5C, seasonal open air license on town property.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Please come up to the microphone and be brief, but please give your name for the record.
Won't be a problem. Joe Butler, and I'm here for an open air license for a can drive to raise money for the new fire department sign.
Okay? That's it? That's all? And just give your name for the record, Jean. Okay.
I would make a motion that we grant the license, Madam Chair.
Okay. Is there a second for discussion?
Second.
Okay, so it meets the criteria for the open air license policy. The only thing I'm looking for is the information from the chief, which is on your second page.
Yeah.
There are no events, and the chief has no objections. So,
Actually, I'm gonna withdraw that second because the motion was not read in its entirety.
okay. Who made the motion?
I did.
Mr. Carpenter, can you read the motion?
The applicant has also requested that the board waive the fee.
But that's a separate motion.
Yeah. Yeah. I rebel against reading motions. So. I make a motion that we approve the license, provided that all applicable requirements of the state and town and any of its departments, boards, and commissions have been fulfilled. Said license is subject to all the conditions stated upon it. Failure to comply with any and all the conditions shall invalidate the license and render it null and void.
Now I will second. All right. That's fine.
Are there any questions, comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, so voted. Regarding the request for the waiver,
I make a motion that we waive the fee.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So voted. Now, I know I rushed you, but if you could just give the date and contact information if anyone wants to make a donation.
Sure, it's going to be this Saturday, October 18th, from 9 to noon at the fire department. If you need a canned pickup, if you're out there and you're still up, give me a call at my house at 508-721-9675, and I will actually go to your house and pick up the cans. 100% of all the money that we take in this can drive will go towards the hopefully new fire department's, Auburn Community Message Board Replacement Fund. Basically, we're replacing the sign.
That's the fire sign, the fire station, everybody in town uses.
Right.
That's really
You're right.
And that's about it.
Thank you.
Anything else?
That's it. We're good. Thank
you
you.
very
Have a successful event.
Thanks.
Back to the agenda. We are on 3I. Presentation of the proposal for Southold Road land, notice of intent to sell for other use per Mass General Law, Chapter 61A, Section 14, land along Southold Road and Southold Meadow Road. Ms. Jacobson.
Through the chair, thank you very much. The Board of Selectmen received information back in August. I just sent an email as a heads up that we had just received a notice of intent to sell for other use, as the chair just read, for land on Southold Road. And at the time, as part of the Mass General Law and the requirements, the proposed buyer had to notify the planning board, the assessors, and the Conservation Commission of this. I can just briefly tell you the process, but basically, the town has 120 days following the receipt of the complete notice, which it was determined to be complete. So 120 days puts us at December 10th to exercise our option. We have 3 options, which I can go over after the presentation, what the options are, what our conversations have been with the developer, and I know we have Cindy Cosgrove here, the assessor, if there are any questions regarding the assessed issues. Bill Coyle is here as well, and our thought was to bring the developer and the proposed buyer in tonight to present to you what they're looking to do, and then that would give you a couple of weeks to digest that information. Then we want to come back on October 28th, depending on what your feeling is after tonight, come back on October 28th and potentially have a public hearing where you could gather more input on this. So to start, I wanted to introduce Attorney Mark Donahue, and let him, I believe he's starting it off.
We can let them both come up to the table. Sometimes it's difficult to hear from there, so if you want to come up.
And Attorney Donahue is with Mr. Sundin, who is the buyer, so I will turn it over to Attorney Donahue.
Can I ask a quick question before? Have either of the 2 boards expressed an interest or a possible use, or has any department in town?
Through the chair, we have not received any feedback from the Conservation Commission or the Planning Board at this point.
Has your office or the accountant's office evaluated this?
Through the
At any
chair,
length?
we have done we've had a number of meetings on it and had the preliminary evaluations. We wanted to withhold any recommendations until after the proposal. Felt it was fair to hear what the developer had to say and to see if there was any new information forthcoming. But yes, we've looked at this quite a lot.
Good evening.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. My name is Mark Donahue. I'm with the law firm of Fletcher Tilton. I represent Tiltime Investment Corporation. Scott Sundin is the principal at Tiltime. Beyond that company also is the president of B.A. Sundin and Son. The reason that we thought it would be helpful for you as you consider the right that the statute gives the community of a right to purchase the land on the same terms and conditions as are in the purchase and sale agreement that we have with the owners of the property, the post-limited partnership, is to let you know a little bit about Mr. Sundin, so you know who you're dealing with, and at least get an idea of how he sees the land for its potential use, and you can use that as you deem fit as you make your own determinations how to move forward. So let me tell you a little bit about him. As I mentioned, B.A. Sundin and Son, Scott is now the 4th generation of that company, is a very successful home builder over that period of time in Worcester County. Began in Worcester, moved up to Holden, In fact, Scott, as a much younger man, and his father did developments here in Auburn over a period of time and worked closely with the town and the Board of Selectmen at that time to acquire property and build it out for residential purposes as part of a master plan that you had for preserving open space and the like. Beyond that experience as a single family builder, Scott has particularly moved forward and looked at multifamily type of development, and has two projects that he would point to particularly as elements of pride and demonstration of his abilities, both of which are located in Holden, which I think is importantly also where Scott lives and is raising his family, demonstrating his ability to work with the town that he lives in. Both of them, I think, are instructive as to his approach as to how he does those type of developments in a community. The first is a project known as Seasons at Salisbury, which is a 91-unit, over 55 development off of Salisbury Street in Holden. It's instructive because when that land was first obtained and looked at for future development by the Sundin family at the time, there were no provisions for any type of clustering or multifamily dwelling, particularly age-restricted dwellings, in the town of Holden. Scott worked closely with the Department of Growth Management in Holden, developed a bylaw that was ultimately approved by town meeting, went through then the special permit process for that, and successfully built out through a very difficult economic time all 91 units, which really make a great appearance. The second development, which is instructive, I think, as to how he proceeds, is a similar experience, also in the town of Holden, in which a large tract of land, which was owned by the family, was seen as a potential development and a source of maybe backfilling needs within the community. Scott began a dialogue with the Board of Selectmen in Holden that ultimately ended up in that project being the site for a local initiative program, or a so-called LIP under Chapter 40B, in which, as opposed to a hostile methodology of somebody coming in to build affordable housing, the community works with the developer to do that. What has now been constructed as the reserves is a 192-unit multi-development, multi-housing unit in buildings that we can show you at least a model of is what they are. That was constructed through the process of getting the LIP from the Board of Selectmen, moving forward then through a permitting process that took better than a year at the Zoning Board of Appeals to resolve any issues with neighbors, and then to ultimately get that project also approved. And it also is a significant asset now to the town, as seen in that it both fills a need for affordable housing in the community and also serves as a significant addition to their tax base. So that's the way that Scott approaches development, and want you to know that, so that if it's important to you in your determination as to whether to exercise, this is not perceived by you to be any kind of aggressive or hostile type of effort in that fashion. The land that's subject to the purchase and sale agreement is shown in some diagrams that are part of the agreement, and it really breaks into three components, so you have an understanding of how the land lies as opposed to just, South Old Road. And basically it has what the agreement refers to as three different phases. Phase one is actually the layout of South Old Road right now. There are 25 individual house lots on that, which are part of the agreement, 21 of which are subject to the right of first refusal with the town of Auburn under the statute. Those are under the classification as 61A. The improvements that are required for South Old Road to make it more appropriate for passage and construction have gone through the process of an approval with the planning board of the town of Auburn and have been signed off by the planning board. The Conservation Commission has also issued an order of conditions as to the work that involves wetland alteration as part of that first phase of the development. So that's already been approved in that fashion, and that piece of the development would proceed in that same fashion, being single-family dwellings on both sides of South Old Road. Phase two is an extension off the opposite side, and I can show you a plan that might give you at least some idea of the locations. This work for the board. This is the main piece I was just referring to as South Old Road right up here. There's a piece down here that ends in a cul-de-sac approximately in this location. which has also received subdivision approval through the planning board for the town of Auburn as a fully approved plan, and the wetland resource down in this area, which is to be altered for the detention basin, has been issued an order of conditions by the Conservation Commission for that work. So that's all been through the approval process, been reviewed through the process that you're more than familiar with. Phase 3 is what's also shown on the subdivision plan as, I think, lot 7, if I remember correctly. And there's basically the rest of the land. It's this big tract out here. And that hasn't been through the approval process in any meaningful fashion yet, in any formal fashion, certainly, with the town of Auburn. And that's what kind of brings us to, so you know where Scott's coming from. As far as trying to move forward with the development, this would be kind of the single-family piece up here. And if allowed to proceed, we'd be looking at trying to take potentially this entranceway, expand the subdivision, and make a multi-family development in this entire tract in this fashion. This has no magic to it. I don't want you to get fixed on how many blocks there are. It's no design. It's a two-dimensional kind of plan, just to give you an idea of what it is. The types of structures, if it's consistent with those at the reserve that I mentioned to you, are basically 3-story buildings that kind of look like that. The two-dimensional doesn't really do them justice. We'd obviously be able to give you more detail, and would certainly welcome anybody who wants to have a tour of it to contact Scott directly to see the facility, because it is quite striking as far as what is involved. In fact, as to reserves, I've got a piece of the promotional material that I'll leave for the board, so you can see what at least the units look like in that type of fashion. So that's the immediate plan based upon the limited work that's been done to date under the agreement as far as the diligence is concerned. If the town does not exercise with the right of first refusal, we'll be moving forward and making other arrangements as enunciated in the agreement to hopefully move forward to the purchase. And if we do so, we would look forward to working with the various town boards and agencies to try to come up with a way that we can develop the site in a fashion, as I said, for what we perceive to be the need, which is multifamily, either through the bylaw or through the 40B process in a cooperative fashion, as has been his experience. So, not as exciting as serving beer in a club, but best I can do after 10 o'clock. So, we'd be glad to answer any questions that you may have or try to provide you any additional information.
Mr. Holstrom.
Through the chair, you're saying multifamily homes. Is that going to be elderly apartments? Is it going to be open to who?
It's premature to say what it will and will not be. Right now, market conditions would not indicate that an age-restricted unit would be very viable. A number of those development, that's a market that got oversaturated and is still working through that saturation right now. Reserve at Salisbury that I mentioned before does not have an age restriction. What it has under what's referred to as the Chapter 40B process, which is a process by state law that a developer can proceed to override local zoning in the event that he covenants and is obligated to provide at least 25% of those units to individuals who meet the standard under the regulations of low or moderate income housing, which are basically those that have family incomes within 80% of the median average. So it's not a poverty level in any fashion. It's certainly, for example, a number of your municipal workers. So that's what that is in that fashion. More likely than not, it would not be an age-restricted development.
Now, how about the single-family homes?
The single-family on that Phase 1 piece, there would not be an affordable component to that necessarily. You know, those would be market rate developments, and obviously those would be detached single-family homes as permitted under zone.
Okay. And if I may continue?
You may.
Have you studied the water usage, sewer usage, and what kind of services from police and fire would be expanded upon if this whole development was put in? Have you looked into that?
I think a fair answer would be, sir, that we've begun the process of that. We've done investigation. In fact, particularly the Phase 1 development has received a sewer extension permit from both the community and from the Department of Environmental Protection. So we know, and from our diligence, there is adequate capacity for all of the use for sewer. And we've had the opportunity to meet with the town engineer and DPW. There appears to be enough water capacity to handle that. Really haven't looked at the issues of additional services required for police and fire. Anecdotally, those additional needs have not been dramatic, for example, at the reserves or that type of thing, that they have a huge demand in some fashion. But no, we have not yet, and obviously that would be part of the diligence as we went through the permitting process that we would provide.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Steve?
Mr. Simonian?
How many, in the phase one piece, how many single-family units would be added?
There are 25 lots, 21 of which are subject to the town's right of first refusal.
Okay, and the reserve? How many units in?
There's 192.
Okay. And are those, I'm guessing they'd be different sizes, so?
Sure. Yeah, Scott, you can talk to the unit maker reserve.
What we have there is 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, and a limited amount of 3-bedroom units.
Okay. All right. Do you know what the breakdown of the 1, 2, and 3 would be in the 192, or is it too early?
Well, we had, I mean, if we use the same percentages, I want to say we had 144 2-bedroom units, 48, math might be 48 1-bedroom units, and 12 3-bedroom units, if that adds up.
It's close.
It's close.
It's a little over, but it's close.
I know
That's
the
fine.
12 is right.
Close enough. All right, thanks.
Mr. Holstrom? Mr. Holstrom, then Mr. Carpenter.
If I may, I'd like to approach Cindy Cosgrove and through the assessor's office to find out what kind of an impact this would be to the town, beneficial-wise, value-wise.
Through the chair, while Cindy Cosgrove was coming up, I just want to clarify, I don't believe, have you come up with the number of units that you're proposing yet for 2 and 3? I think the 192, my understanding is that's what you have in Holden, but you have yet to determine how many you would have here, because you haven't gone through that process yet with planning board.
Right, and I think that's instructive, if I might, without taking Ms. Cosgrove's time. By way of example, the process that began in the reserves with the permitting began with a plan that had, by my memory, 248 units. 246. And then through the permitting process and trying to respond to people, and, you know, there's a lot that happened as that sausage got made, the numbers got reduced. There's certainly physical limitations that have to be taken into consideration to try to make it all work on the site, make the grades work and everything. Right now, we have no idea what the total number would be. And obviously, the community has a great deal of impact on that number.
Ms. Cosgrove?
Okay, basically, right now, the land is in Chapter 61A. So it's being valued at a minimal value. And what happens is, once the board, if it waives its right of first refusal to the land will be taken out of chapter, and it will be taxed under Chapter 59. It will trigger a rollback. They will pay 5 years. The difference between what the property would have been at full and fair cash value versus what was actually paid under Chapter 61. The rollback that would be due if it had come out before the values were certified this year was about $80,000, and that would be paid upfront in one lump sum. After that, the land is then valued at full value, so we will receive more revenue on it every year. I mean, right now it is just there, he's paying, it's a minimal value under Chapter 61.
Thank you.
Did you have something else?
Yeah, actually, Cindy, you may be able to answer this. What's the zoning over there?
I honestly, I don't know.
I know duplexes are allowed in certain areas of Packagug area, but I'm not sure Southold Road is one of them. Bill, can you talk to the planning board's scheme to make a road which is, under any circumstances, any general idea, in poor condition and not suitable for major development? Can it be brought up to something, I mean, Salisbury Street is a major thoroughfare. We're talking about Southold Road. It's not anywhere near the width, nor is it in the condition of.
Right. Bill Coyle, Town Engineer, DPW Director. I'll just speak in general. I mean, the both roadways that lead into this area that would be potentially developed, Southold Road and Curtis Street, are very minimal width. Some areas probably narrow down to somewhere around 15 to 16 feet. The planning board, or actually the zoning board, if this becomes a 40B project and goes through the local initiative process, they could work with the proponent of the project to see if they would work with them to widen the roadways. Obviously, we'd have significant opposition from the abutters, I think, to that. But they also have the option of pursuing a 40B project not going through the town and just going through the state. So obviously, there are issues with access that are going to be difficult to overcome and satisfy the needs for accessibility and also minimizing the impacts to the abutters. I'm not sure if that helps at all answering your questions, but.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm familiar with the road from the planning board, so, I mean, and Curtis Street is very narrow, and, you know, you're putting a development of this kind in what is a single-family development, traditionally, on top of the fact that you have no structures that are going to probably approach the height that you're even thinking of. So it'll be interesting to see what the final concept comes out. But I was just interested, do you happen to know if there's zone for duplexes on that side?
And again, I don't think it would, I don't know for sure.
Under 40B, it wouldn't necessarily
Right,
matter. I'm just
40B.
asking what the by right is so that the residents might actually, you know, be interested to see what the zoning is.
I would have to, I wouldn't want to, yes, I'd have to check the zoning on what they could build by right.
Okay, good enough. I can look it up too. Mr. Sundin, you're coming in with a 40B. Do you intend to make this a permanent 40B, or are you doing this for a particular period of time, and then those units are going to be sold for market value? What's your concept?
Well, I mean, we don't really have a concept yet. What we're talking about now is what we did in Holden, and that is a rental. The affordable units are in perpetuity, meaning that they'll never be changed over. They shift. All units are the same. There's no difference between a 40B unit and a market rate unit. They're mixed within the development so that you don't know which one is the 40B unit, so that you don't know which neighbor is getting a discounted rent. It's a beautiful piece. I mean, I'd welcome you to come out and take a tour. I think we did a beautiful job with it. You talk about Salisbury Street. We do have one entrance onto Salisbury Street, but we also have a back entrance onto Newell Road, which is, again, 18 feet wide in some areas. But that's what you do traffic studies for. We go through all of that. We worked, again, like we said in the past, we worked with the town. We had to do a little bit of off-site improvements on Newell Road to help with some of the traffic flows. It's kind of part of the whole process. You know, we might be looking to somehow find another way in other than Southold Road. Maybe there's a way out to Route 20 somehow, which would be ideal for everybody. But I do say the one thing that is consistent with the property that we're looking at and the property we have in Holden, it is down in a hollow. The people on Southold Road will not see the development because it is down below, probably 100 feet of elevation change between the top of the road and down below. You have a dense set of woods behind all those properties that will remain because we will be building on those properties. And you won't even see it. If we could get somehow out onto Route 20, it would be an ideal situation for everybody. You get the tax revenue, and it would certainly help with the development as well by not having the egress up through the center of town, because most people are going to want to get on the Mass Pike or onto 146 to get to work, you know. So, again, it's kind of, everything is up in the air. All we're kind of showing you the different scenarios. It could turn into being single-family homes if it doesn't pan out. So we just want to make sure that The town understands that we're gonna open up all avenues. We don't wanna have anyone saying we try to pull a fast one. I mean, that's not how I operate, that's not the way I do things, and we definitely wanna work with the town of Auburn.
And none of my questions were geared to that. I understand 40B, I was on the planning board for 14 years, so I understand it, obviously. I am concerned about that road. I am concerned about the residents on that road. I'm also concerned about the residents on Curtis Street. So it would be great if we could find a way to find an alternate route in. Nothing I've said should lead you to believe that I'm against the project or for the project, but my colleagues don't have my planning experience, so perhaps I can ask a question that they don't necessarily know how to ask.
That's fine.
So, were there any stipulations as to the architectural rendering of the building? I know on Goddard, and there was a stipulation that you had to build certain colonials or something.
Is there, with the transfer with the Post family?
Yes.
Is that what you're asking?
Yes. Is there any requirements?
We do not have any type of architectural review with the Post family.
Any requirement that it be farmed or anything else, that the property be used before you build upon it?
There was a stipulation that we would be, I think we are,
There's some requirements in the agreement. I don't remember exactly what they say.
to make sure that it's farmed in the meantime so it doesn't deteriorate.
Well, it'd be interesting as we make a decision to know what those stipulations are so that we can make a informed decision.
You have the benefit of the entire agreement. I can certainly find it.
I may have mislaid it,
Not
so
right now,
that's,
but-
I'm sure I can get another copy if I need to.
Do you have anything else?
Nope, thank you guys for coming and
Well, I
for
have a
what
couple
you're
questions.
trying to do.
So, you know, there's a lot of concerns from people when they hear 40B. So I just want you to talk to 40B housing and the difference of 40B housing and subsidized low-income housing first, and then, you know, how many units will be designated, what percentage of the development will be designated as affordable, which is not subsidized low-income housing, and how many will be, rented at the market rate.
Sure.
Thank you.
Much of this is governed by regulations promulgated by the Department of Housing and Community Development. Under Chapter 40B, not less than 25% of the housing units developed must be perpetually dedicated to affordable use. And this is a rental development, so we'll talk in context of rental developments. Affordable is a term of art. It is defined both in broad terms in the statute and even clearer in the regulations. Under the regulations, it's clear, it's based upon a percentage of median income as applicable to Worcester County, of which obviously Auburn is a part. And that median income is based upon the number of family household members in a family. So not surprisingly, median income rises based upon the number of household members that are in it. I don't have the exact numbers right now, and I don't want to guess as to what that 80% is in some fashion. But that's it. That's what affordable is under the DHCD guidelines. That does not preclude, but often means for a developer who owns a development that you don't then look at what I think the chair might be referring to as subsidized units, where the owner of the unit receives a cash subsidy on a monthly basis to underwrite the cost of the rent. Essentially, a 40B is requiring the developer to do the underwriting, and that's the creation of it. So you really can't piggyback the two things on top of one another. Subsidized generally falls in the case where a private owner of a unit obtains a subsidy from a government that helps to close the gap between what the tenant can pay and what they're willing to rent it for. So that's not where you really end up with.
The percentage of units that will be designated as affordable and as opposed to market rate.
Right. So you'd end up with, and that's usually about the mix, you end up with 25% of the units which are affordable. The regulations require that those have to be on a pro rata basis, so that if 50% of your units are 2 bedrooms, then 50% of the 25% would be 2 bedrooms. And so that you don't end up with them all crammed, for lack of a better term, into one classification or another. There's a process that the tenants have to go through on an annual basis of certification. The management company who runs it has to provide that certification as to that the tenants qualify on an annual basis for it, and that is submitted to DHCD. There is, and this may get into too much detail, but just to throw it out, the process at the state level also caps essentially the return a developer can receive from having a 40B development. The rate of return is capped for rental development at 10%. And that is a process by which, in fact, there are, at the expense of the owner, auditors hired to examine his books, both at the close of construction and then during development. And if the project is somehow at a point in which the return is exceeding that, then the developer is actually required to pay that back either to the state or to the local community. And usually local communities participate in what that is called. That's called a monitoring agreement that they participate in. So you know that he's following the rules as you go along.
Thank you. Do members have any additional questions? We have a former selectman, Town of Auburn selectman, who wishes to be recognized. If you could come up to the microphone and give your name for the record.
Madam Chair, Craig Glaze, former Board of Selectmen member from I can't believe this, from 1987 to 1996, almost 30 years ago.
Wow.
I sat in that seat and was faced with the same sort of question that you're faced with on the 61A on the post-cutting property. Thank God, sort of our forefathers came forward and urged us to look at exercising the right and preserving the open space. And today, you enjoy the benefits of the Pappas recreational complex for active and passive recreation. I wanted to see a school there, but fortunately, it did prevail, and you were able to do that. I think there might be the opportunity, and secondly, I want to vouch for the Sundin family. We worked closely with them. If you recall, we transferred the property to the Government Land Bank Committee that was established by the town meeting to do this very thing, to work through the process and to sort of have your cake and eat it too. We looked at the fiscal realities, and I don't pretend to know the fiscal realities of the town today, but I would tell you are in good hands with Julie Jacobson, who I worked with for 25 years, if I could have a little commercial break on that. I'm sure you're in very good hands. But at the time, that was a serious consideration. We needed to bond the property out long enough, and we also had to come up with a plan that was going to return some of that money. So in a sense, we had our cake and we ate it too, with respect to that property. We preserved the open space, and then we were able to work a deal out with the developer to sell off the Goddard subdivision and the property to the church. And those two pieces were the original vision of the town to be able to afford, and to be able to control. We absolutely got in the development business at the time. I think the dividends have paid off greatly for the town. You were able to preserve that open space, get the recreational facility that you want, and you were able to offset the cost of that, not completely. There was a price to pay, but you were able to offset that and work closely. So I think if there is an alternative where you could sit with the developer, figure out a way to carve out the pieces and preserve some open space. I remember Don Post saying to me at the time, they ain't making any more land with respect to the town, so do the right thing in terms of preserving our future, in terms of what is needed for the town and what's in the best interest of the town. It's not the easy route to take. It's a very difficult route to take because you essentially get in the development business with the developer, but I would argue that it was well worth it for the town when that decision was made 30 years ago. By the way, by a one vote, it passed town meeting at 2/3 by a one vote margin to do that. And I think it was a lot of foresight of the town meeting at the time to take that vote, to know that 30 years later we were going to need that land for open space and for recreational purposes. So hopefully one of the alternatives is to come back, work with the developer, figure out a way to preserve some open space, but obviously you've got to keep the fiscal house in order with the town finances. So I just thought I'd come up. I didn't know it was going to be this late, but I'd throw my 2 cents in. I have not spoke before the board since I left in 1996. So
Well,
I wish
welcome
you
back.
all well. I watched what you did. I went through those hearings in the past, and I be honest with you, I don't miss that. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Craig.
Cindy, did you have information for us, or? You have to come up if you do. I know you left the room, so I thought you might have come back with some information.
I just wanted to go down and check the zoning map, and that is an RB zone. So,
Thank you.
Thanks, Cindy.
Through the chair. I just want to add a couple of things too. Through the chair, the town administration, we've had several internal meetings on this to look at all the different aspects of it. We wanted to have the opportunity to hear the full proposal tonight. I believe we met back in mid-August, and some things were still being tweaked, and obviously will still need to be tweaked because they're not at that stage yet. But I can tell you that I've spoken to a number of officials in Holden about Mr. Sundin and his reputation and how he was to work with the town, and all excellent reviews came back. That he was more than willing to work with the Board of Selectmen, willing to work with the Planning Board, willing to make concessions where need be to get a good project for the town. That's the feedback I got. I also inquired as to the management, because once these units are up and running and they're under rental, you've got to make sure that the management is solid and strong. And great reports came back on the management as well. And when we met, we did talk a little bit about the management, because that's a concern. It's not just what's being built and how it's being built, it's how is it sustained for the future. And lastly, I just want to mention that I did, with Adam Burney, the town planner at the time, tour the facility in Holden, and it is beautiful. So I would highly encourage the board to get in touch with Mr. Sundin individually if you have the opportunity, and go out and take a look at it, and if nothing else, just drive through it. It's really quite beautiful. I happen to be familiar with that land. I had looked at a project there several years ago in another capacity, and it's a beautiful piece of land, and it's still a beautiful piece of land. The project was developed in the sense that it preserved what it could of the land. On our end, from the town administration end, I need to say from a fiscal perspective, that the board needs to give a lot of thought to this. The purchase price, again, because I don't think we've said it publicly, but it is in your packet, is $2.865 million. So we are talking a significant amount for a purchase price that the town would have to come up with to do this. The board would, there's a process to be followed, and this week I'll make sure that we outline it for you. I don't want to take up everyone's time tonight, but we do have an outline of the timing and the timeline and what needs to be done and when it needs to be done. And then there's 90 days, I believe there's 90 days after the 120-day period to actually close on the land if that's what the town wanted to do. But there's a lot of things that need to be followed here. I think it's important for the board to know that as soon as we did hear the proposal officially and receive the packet, within 2 days, I think we had sat down, Attorney Donahue, myself, Mr. Sundin, and Ed Kezinovich, we heard, and Adam, and heard the proposal. And started to work on it on our own with Bill Coyle and Cindy to look at what the impacts may be. And again, there would be significant fiscal impacts to the town that I think we need to, the board needs to carefully consider. We do have the middle school coming online, and we do have the Blackstone Vocational Technical High School project coming online. So those are two, for the taxpayers, those are two major things that will be hitting soon, and you have to give some thought to whether the town wants to, borrow $2.9 million and go forward with this. I would say there are other options that we should look at. I mean, the board, number one, can assign their right of first refusal to another party. I believe that's what Craig Blaze was referring to when they actually worked with another committee to do that. I did reach out as soon as I found out that this is going on, and let Attorney Donahue know, because I want to make sure he understood. Trying to look at all the options. Reached out to the Greater Worcester Land Trust and had a meeting with them shortly after our meeting, as well as with the Audubon Society, to see if either one of them were aware of the parcel, were they interested in it, could they find another source of funding for us if the town didn't want to have to come up with $2.865 million. And I spoke to them. I've been speaking with them over the last several weeks, to see if they've generated any interest. They've actually contacted the Department of Agriculture to see if there was any need or any ability of the department to preserve maybe even a small portion of the land, not preventing the project, but as Craig Blaze just mentioned, looking to see if there's an option for preserving some of it for agricultural uses while still enabling the developer to go forward with the project. And I think if we have a developer that's willing to work with us, we can come to those types of agreements that would benefit everybody. I don't want to make an opinion on the roads or the infrastructure, police or fire, because those studies haven't been done yet, and that would happen through the LIP or 40B process. So I wouldn't be able to respond to you right now either, Mr. Holstrom, but I would tell you that that happens during this process. And Mr. Carpenter knows that from the planning board process. That would all get vetted out and ironed out. But I think right now what the board needs to keep in mind is the cost of the purchase, whether it is is there a value to this other than the preservation of open space, which in itself is a value, but it's also, there's nothing that we've been able to identify significant when it comes to wildlife or any kind of endangered species there. So there's no issue with that right now. And right now, there's also no party that has stepped forward that's willing or interested in putting any money up. So at this point, knowing the timeline, the town would likely be taking on the whole nut of $2.865 million. So knowing that, what we wanted to do tonight was have the developer present to you, have you have the opportunity to hear from them, hopefully have the opportunity to go out and take a look at some of the projects that they've done that are significant. Also keep in mind that we are very much under what the affordable housing requirements are by the state, and this may open up the opportunities for the town to receive some grant funds that we're not eligible for right now because we don't meet the affordability criteria for this. So there are pros and cons to it. From the perspective now, if we can mitigate any concerns with the neighborhood, which is always an issue, and if we can get a good developer, which it appears Mr. Sundin has a very good reputation for working with the town, then maybe we can make this a win for the town if it's done properly. I think the other thing I just want to make a note of is we would all be working with the developer on this. I know Mr. Coyle has had several meetings with him regarding the road and, you know, how would it work if they were going to rip up the road right around the time we were going to pave the road. There are so many details to this, but I think right now what we need, the board needs to focus on is the process and the timing of this and whether the board is going to recommend that it goes forward with a purchase of this size. I will get to you this week. I've been on the phone with town council. I was even on the phone with him tonight out in the hall, trying to just get the process underway so we can get this to you. But it appears that you may have to have a public hearing on October 28th. You know, I wanted to give you 2 weeks ahead of time to just think about it and digest it. But it may be something that we want to just advertise on October 28th and invite the public in to make comment on it. I'm not sure if you are available or could be available for that date if the public had questions. But I think that's something that town council is recommending that the board would probably have a public hearing before taking any vote. And then your votes are one of three. You vote to waive your right of first refusal, you vote to assign the right of first refusal, or you vote to exercise your right of first refusal. So those really are primarily your options. And as Mr. Blaze mentioned, the town can also get in the business of being in the development business, and we've looked at that a little bit. And it's complicated and it's time consuming, and a lot would ride on the fact that is the town ready to take on a project where we then become the developer, we're selling off the land, and we work with the developer to do the multi-housing. It's a very challenging undertaking, to say the least.
Mr. Simonian?
Yeah, I have one question. Over the last at least year and a half, there's been several occasions where the possibility of a solar farm has been brought up. Have we evaluated that property for that possibility?
Through the chair, we have had several solar developers look at a number of properties in town. It was my understanding from a couple that I spoke to that that was not of interest to them because of the cost of the purchase. The couple projects that we were working with a developer on were for the lease of 15 acres approximately. It's generally 5 acres per kilowatt,
and most projects don't exceed 6 kilowatts, so you're talking 30 acres, and this is a 50-acre parcel, so it was much larger than the majority of solar developers were looking for, and the cost did not make it economical to do the project. At this point, I have to say, though, once a purchase and sale has been signed, the only option would be if a solar developer came in within the next 10 days and wanted to buy that parcel. Because the option is for the town, not for a private developer to come in and supersede the right of first refusal.
That's correct. You'll get your own advice from town council, but your ability to assign your right of first refusal is to assign it to a group who's going to maintain the property as open space. It's not to assign it to a higher bidder.
Or another development.
Is there anything else?
Thank you.
Thank you.
For coming in.
Thank you very much, especially the lateness of the hour.
Yeah. So I'm not seeing anyone here left for GameStop. So do we want to continue this to our next
I would say,
regular meeting?
I'll make a
not the-
motion, we table this until our next meeting,
At-
our public meeting on the 27th.
Okay.
October 27th for GameStop.
And we'll notify them, Sharon? Okay. All those, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So voted. Next in your packet, you have the list, the required forms from G&J Liquors, Auburn Park and Shop Supermarket, YS Enterprise, Inc., doing business as Jack Variety, Auburn Package Store, and Colony One Incorporated. Enclosed is the notice from the ABCC concerning the procedure. The board would need to approve the change of hours for these premises.
Can we take it as as a whole, just let everybody do it?
Yes, we can.
I'm asking
Yeah, do you want to make that motion?
I'm making that motion. To
Is there a
approve-
second?
I'm sorry, can you?
Do we take them all together?
The motion is to
Yes,
approve the
I'll make
change of
motion that
hours.
we take all the applicants together, if that's appropriate.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
I have a question. Does this list entail all the people that want to,
The ones that have provided the written documentation so
okay.
far.
Does
We-
everybody that has a license, are they aware of this Form 43 to be filled out and presented to the town?
Yes.
Before they can open their,
Yes.
change their laws?
Yeah.
Okay.
They just have to fill out the form. We have to say yes, so.
Okay. And so this is not a full list of everybody in the
No.
town, then? There are some that are
No,
probably...
it's the off-premises
Yep.
sales.
Yep, okay, thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So voted.
I make a
next-
motion that we grant the list as presented for Sunday hours at 10 o'clock, 10 a.m.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So voted. The next item we have is the John E. and Ethel E. Riley Outstanding Citizen Selection Committee. The board would need to appoint an Auburn resident member of the press. In your packet, you have information here regarding the process.
I would like to,
Before we do that, Ken, can I ask a question?
sure.
I asked today about this because I have no idea. I think we should have a process where members of the press, I think there are 2 that are eligible in town, maybe 3, I'm not sure. But we ask other applicants to submit at least a letter of interest. I think we should do this. I came in here, there was no information as far as who, what was even interested. So, to me, we should have the person first say, I'm interested, before we appoint somebody. So going forward, I would say, that would be my request, that we have a formal process like any other committee appointment where they submit, I know this is 2 or 3 people, but, so the board knows who might be interested.
I would agree.
Okay, I'll just, for the record, I'll say that Ellie Olson is meets the requirements, and John Anderson meets the requirements, and Ellie Olson asked me prior to the meeting to not reappoint her, but to appoint Mr. Anderson, to give him an opportunity. Mr. Simonian?
Wouldn't Mr. Labonte, Jeff Labonte, also qualify?
Yes.
But they're partners.
Just making sure.
But as we said earlier, or as I said earlier about notifying the board, it's great that they call the chair, but if it doesn't go beyond the chair to the committee, because it's our meeting, I don't know that you've had that conversation.
I only had it with her, as I was walking back up to the table.
The point is, Doreen, we as members should be notified of what's going to be discussed at the meeting. We're told that if we want to do something, we have to have it in with something on the Thursday before the meeting. So if people have additional information or additional requests, I'm perfectly happy to let that go, but I don't want it that certain members know something and certain members don't. That is an issue with me, and I don't appreciate it. So in the spirit of being open and talking to the board about what goes on, I do feel that certain information isn't being shared amongst all of the board members. And that is troubling to me, because we are all co-equals, and we should all have the information to make that decision. But with that,
Well,
say no more.
I'll just say, again, for the record, and many of you probably saw it, as I was walking up to the table, Ellie stopped me and said something to me. I have not had the opportunity to say anything to anyone here on the board. It happened at 7:02 as I was walking to the table.
It's not just this instant, Madam Chair.
I'm just saying that
And again,
this is the issue
it should
we're
be a
direct-
process. It shouldn't be Ellie coming up to you at 7 o'clock in the evening to tell you, I'm not interested. The board should know who is eligible to be appointed, who is interested in appointment. I don't want to get here and have Ellie jump up and say, I want to be appointed, and then Mr. Anderson and Mr. Labonte say, geez, I didn't even know about it, and they probably didn't know about it. I'm talking about in general, on topics. So it's not about you, it's not about Ken, it's not about Steve, it's not about Denise or myself. I have gone out of my way to communicate when I have an issue to every board member. I have not talked to certain ones and to the exclusion of others, and I feel that's going on. So in the spirit of openness, I'm just letting you know that I'm uncomfortable with that, I'm uncomfortable with the perception of it, and I'm uncomfortable that I have to feel that way as a member of this board, that certain information is being withheld. Not on this specific item, but on items. But with that, I think Mr. Holstrom has a motion, and I'll leave it go at this time.
Is there a motion?
A motion, we appoint John Anderson to the John E. and Eth. Lee Riley Outstanding Citizen Selection Committee.
Second.
Is there discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, so voted.
Congratulations. You didn't have a speech prepared?
We have an application for a drain layers license. Per our policy, the applicant does not have to be here. The application is complete. We have information from Mr. Mitchell saying that the drain layers application has been processed along with the application fee, and he recommends issuing it.
Make a motion, we approve the license provided all applicable requirements of the state and town and any of its departments, boards, and commissions have been fulfilled. Said license is subject to all the conditions stated upon it. Failure to comply with any and all the conditions shall invalidate the license and render it null and void.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So voted. We have gift acceptance. The first we have is to the Town of Auburn Animal Shelter in memory of Matt Jacobson. We have from Attorney D. Moscas, $100. Lisa Dickinson, $25. The Auburn Cultural Council, $100. John and Elaine Hogan, $50. Unibank, $250. Ron and Sally Krikorian, $25. Christine and William Riley, $50. Mary Lou and Joe Cuz, $25.
Motion that we accept them with gratitude.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So voted.
Madam
To-
Chair, can I ask you just a quick question on gift acceptances? Because people have come up to me and asked the question, that they, do we have to announce the amount of the gift publicly? Because some people are uncomfortable giving because they think, oh, it might be whatever amount of money. And I'm just asking on their behalf if we have to announce the amounts. We could certainly announce their names or whoever.
We do, and I believe
Okay.
that's why people make sometimes anonymous donations.
Good enough, thank you.
Okay. To the police department gift account from Masterman's, I'm sorry, to the police department from Masterman's in the amount of $100 to be determined.
Move that we accept with gratitude.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? So voted. And to the fire department gift account in the amount of $30 from Lanny Boothby.
Motion to accept with gratitude.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So voted. From Dorothy Butkus in the amount of $100 to the fire department gift account.
Motion to accept with gratitude.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So voted. From the Auburn Chamber of Commerce in the amount of $1,000 to be used towards the production of a marketing piece to spark interest in economic development within the Auburn community.
Motion to accept with extreme gratitude. Motion to accept with gratitude.
Second.
Any discussion? Mr.
I
Holstrom?
got a question, I guess. Designated use, I guess I don't understand, to be used toward the production of a marketing piece to spark interest in economic development. How is that, how are we gonna use that?
Through the chair, and I would answer, and I would also turn to the chair of the Economic Development Committee, Mr. Carpenter, but there have been several meetings where the Economic Development Committee has determined with the administration that it would be great to develop a disc, a CD of the town of Auburn that could be used for marketing purposes for business recruitment. The Chamber of Commerce voted specifically to fund that. We asked them to look at other potential options for economic development, and that is the piece that their board voted to put money towards. We do not have a final cost of it. We're trying to do some of that, much of that, in-house with Chris Hugo and the local cable committee, but there still may be some cost to producing that, and the chamber has agreed to pick that up, but it had to be specific to that disc.
Great, thank you.
Mr. Simonian?
What's the target audience for that, and how, are we gonna, is this gonna be a determinate group of people that we're gonna send the CD to, or is it gonna be something that's requested based on so I'm just curious how that whole thing's gonna play out.
The idea of the Economic Development Committee, and it was actually done in concert with the town manager, so it is not a wholly owned idea of the committee, it is a group committee, as it always is. In the past, the town has attended trade shows and given out various gifts and whatnot with the name, but the target audience is anybody who might be looking to locate in Auburn, expand, and it's introducing Auburn. Other communities, Worcester, Boston, some of the smaller communities do have these type of things so that you can just hand it. It's typically 5 to 15 minutes, gives the, Disneyland version of the town, telling you the general particulars and why you'd want to come to town. So the idea is to try and get some business owners who are currently in town to do as Mr. Blaze did tonight and vouch for the town and talk about their experiences with the town and its various departments. So that's where it is. We have come up with a smaller piece, a printed piece, but everything is electronic these days. Not only do we want to hand it out, but we want to put it on the website so people can check out auburnguide.com and actually get a quick buzz on the town.
Thanks for the information.
Anything further on this? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, so voted. The next item we have is a proclamation request from the Chamber of Commerce for the ribbon-cutting ceremony for Outback Steakhouse on Wednesday, October 22nd.
I'd make a motion that we issue the proclamation.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, so voted. The next item we have is a grant easement for Verizon New England for 5 through 7 West Street, enclosed other documents. This is for the middle school project. Do you have any information on this?
Yes, this Do you want to, I will let Bill Coyle respond to this, but this is for the widening of West Street, which is affiliated with the site plan approval for the middle school.
Bill, come up and sit.
It'll
Don't
be-
stand
it'll
out
be-
in the middle of the ocean.
it'll be
Come and
brief.
sit. That's okay, then take a load off.
By the time I walked it, I'll be done. I did review the document. It's standard boilerplate language for an easement, so I didn't have any concerns with it in reading it.
Okay. And
Did you
thank you,
have
I
any
didn't even
improvements?
realize you were still waiting for this item, so thank you for
That's
waiting.
okay. Thank you.
And through the chair, this is very similar to an item that was done, I think, 2 board meetings ago for National Grid.
Are there any questions or comments? Is there a motion?
Motion to grant the easement for Verizon New England for 57 West Street.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So voted. We've handled the Sheldon's Harley-Davidson item. Next, we have town manager items, an update on Constellation Energy electric contract.
Through the chair, I did send an email to the board to notify them, but I thought it would be appropriate to bring it up at a board meeting so that the residents were aware of this as well. As you know, National Grid recently announced that they would be seeing increases that could go as high as 40% beginning January 1st. The assistant town manager and I have a relationship with Constellation Energy, which is, we currently have a 3-year contract with them, which expires toward the end of December. So we meet with them on a regular basis, especially toward the end of the contract, to start monitoring what the rates are and to try to lock in at a good rate. So we, even though the contract ends in December, we wanted to lock in at a rate now. So we were able to lock in a rate on August 27th. So the new contract won't begin until December, and until then, we're going to continue to pay 0.745 cents per kilowatt hour. That's the terms of the current contract. And under the new contract, I wish I could read this better, 0.10620, so about 10 cents per kilowatt hour. National Grid is projecting that rates may be as high as 24 cents. So we did lock in, we're in for a 3-year rate. The 3-year rate was actually better than the 4-year rate, so we went for the 3-year contract. So I did want to let the board know that that contract is done, it's in place. I believe it puts the town, this is for the town use of our municipal facilities. And given that it's a major cost to us, it was a good thing for us to get done.
Great, thank you.
Will the school be able to benefit from that as well?
Under the current contract, they are not part of this. They are aware. They do have their own energy contracts, so we weren't able to link them together because the dates were different, but they do have a contract where they're also purchasing reduced rate electricity. And if I may, I know it's not on here. I know my other items are all set under town manager, but I do want to mention the Fall Festival. That is this coming weekend. Our newsletter has all the details if you want to take a look at it, but just by way of date, it's this Saturday, October 17th, from 9 to 4 at the high school. And on Friday evening is homecoming at the high school. And I think this is our second, if not our third year in a row of combining the homecoming with the Fall Festival. So hopefully everyone can make it out there.
It's also the last football game of the season, so if you haven't been out there.
Mrs. Brotherton?
I also wanted to add that I believe there is a flu clinic
There is.
that they are offering
In the morning.
in the morning at the high school.
Right.
Very good, thank you. I should have added that, yes.
If you have your insurance cards available, bring them, but they're not required. And it's open to everyone. No, they're not, it's open to everyone. We have no tabled items, we have no Board of Selectmen member items, no public comment, I assume, Mr. Coyle?
Motion to adjourn.
Oh, no, we have minutes.
Actually, just one thing, since our last meeting, well, the last meeting I attended, I did miss our last meeting. As a representative of this board, I attended the CMMPO meeting, and just for informational purposes, they have website, they've got some surveys that are relevant to town energy-related issues that they encouraged all members of the boards to go to the website, take a look at, participate, and a great place to get information. I know that the gentleman whose name I forgot said Mr. Coyle is there, a regular attendee there, but there is information for anyone who's interested that we can get from the website. So I just thought I'd throw that out there, and now I'm done.
And then, did they elect a representative from our district?
Mr.,
Bill wants to say
God,
something.
I can't believe it. We reappointed the selectman from Oxford, and
Okay.
I'm going to apologize to him because
Okay.
my mind just went blank.
Mr. Coyle?
Phil Joinsville is our representative from Auburn.
But
just-
isn't there a
There's
regional direction?
representative who's a
yeah.
member of the Board of Selectmen in Oxford.
Yes,
He sits
Lamar,
next to
Dennis
Mo
Lamar.
DiPaolo.
Yes.
Yeah.
Dennis Lamar. And just briefly, I believe I have a copy of that survey, and we can potentially, I believe we should be able to put that on our website, or at least a link to it. And I did take the survey. It's very short, and it is actually pretty interesting. Just where do you want your dollars spent?
Absolutely.
It was the roadway condition, bikes and pedestrian access, for safety issues, congestion. Very quick, it's very easy to fill out, and I think it's very useful. So I'll try to remember tomorrow to send that over to the IT office to see if we can have that put on the town website as well with a link to it.
Thanks.
Also, thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Reinstate my
Coyle.
motion to
And-
adjourn.
No, we have minutes. We have the minutes of April 28th, the minutes of May 6th, and the minutes of May 12th. If there are no corrections or omissions, the chair will accept them as written.
I will abstain just because I was done.
I'll accept that motion.
The motion is made.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.